in a desolate realm where only the strong survive, a beast tamer's power is absolute law. The one with the mightiest contracted beast rules all. Meet our protagonist, Su Hang. He has spent 3 agonizing years incubating a single beast egg. But it still refuses to hatch. Today is the absolute deadline. If this shell doesn't crack, Su Hang will be banished to the absolute bottom of society, forced to face hordes of bloodthirsty demonic beasts with empty hands. But right in that heart-stopping moment of absolute despair, a miracle happens. The egg finally shatters, revealing a newborn divine dragon. Simultaneously, an ancient inheritance awakens within him. The legendary Nine Sons Dragon Manual, otherwise known as the ultimate cultivation art for dragon tamers. But let us rewind to where it all began. Millions of years in the distant future, on a day that seemed chillingly ordinary, humanity was facing its absolute final extinction event. Countless forbidden abyssal legions had completely obliterated humanity's absolute last bastion, the Twilight Fortress. Even the supreme dragon ancestor had fallen in battle. An ancient elder, his hair white as snow, stared with profound sorrow at the apocalyptic devastation. Revered as the supreme sage, he knew in his heart that this timeline was already completely stripped of hope. However, Acto, the ultimate guardian of time, chose to burn his mortal shell alongside the time dragon. Sacrificing even his immortal soul without hesitation, he intended to tear open a temporal rift, a desperate pathway back to the distant past. He begged the supreme sage to carry their final spark, the ultimate hope of all humanity, and escape this doomed era forever. Acto placed his absolute faith in the boundless power and peerless wisdom of the Elder, believing he could rewrite the tragic destiny of all living beings in a completely different timeline. Yet, among the invading forbidden gods, those who had mastered the profound laws of time locked their deadly cosmic gaze upon this exact location. They sneered, utterly convinced that not a single soul could escape. Without another word, the supreme sage activated a heaven-defying formation. A massive celestial array materialized in the sky. Countless ancient scrolls manifested from the void, radiating a blinding, majestic golden aura. They violently merged into one supreme artifact, the ultimate beast tamer compendium. The Elder's desperate gamble was to let a soul completely untethered from this timeline rewrite the doomed destiny of the human race. Suddenly, a blinding pillar of supreme divine light erupted from his ancient staff. It shattered through the dimensional arrays, piercing straight into the apocalyptic heavens. The supreme forbidden god manifested in the sky, openly mocking the pathetic struggles of mortal insects. Before the absolute destiny of total annihilation, any futile resistance would only make their inevitable deaths infinitely more pathetic. Every last shred of inferior hope would be utterly devoured by endless despair. Humanity was ordered to quietly crumble into the ruins of their era, taking their pathetic dreams of salvation with them, condemned to become nothing but forgotten cosmic ash. Yes, mortals might be as insignificant as mere specks of dust, but their spirit forges undefeated, heaven-defying heroes. The Forbidden God moved to completely obliterate the temporal rift. However, the Supreme Sage refused to let him interfere. He would force this arrogant deity to witness the ultimate climax of 1,000 tragic final stands. The Supreme Sage initiated the ultimate cosmic sacrifice. This timeline had indeed reached its brutal end. It was destined to return to ashes. But this was absolutely not the final chapter. O glorious warriors of humanity, join me in igniting the most spectacular, blood-soaked fireworks of this apocalypse. Tears streamed down the faces of every last survivor. Driven by suicidal resolve, they refused to yield an inch. O unyielding souls of the past and future, we entrust our final legacy to you. This ultimate artifact will traverse the treacherous river of time, plunging into the impossibly distant past, to completely reconstruct the fallen human civilization, to violently plant the absolute seeds of hope for a victorious future. Meanwhile, countless eons in the past, in an apocalyptic wasteland era, where bloodthirsty demonic beasts completely overrun the earth, beast tamers survive by forming contracts with terrifyingly powerful mutant beasts, using brute strength to dominate the ruthless world, constructing massive human settlements, and monopolizing heaven-defying cultivation resources. But outside these fortified sanctuaries, absolute terror lurks in every shadow. Lethal demonic beasts roam unchecked, making every step a brush with death. Yet, the Black Rock settlement has stood unyielding amidst this brutal wilderness for centuries. its current supreme lord, is an unfathomably powerful, high-ranking beast tamer. It was his absolute might that established the brutal special training system for the Black Rock Fortress. This iron-fisted academy is the very foundation undies of skews that keeps the settlement standing tall against the endless beast tides. Within the gritty walls of the Black Rock settlement, Su Hang stood with crushing despair, reading the blood-red notice plastered on the academy board. The elite tamer camp absolutely does not feed useless trash. If a cadet fails to hatch their beast egg after 3 long years, they will be brutally exiled to the scavenger squads. Anyone who dares to defy this absolute law will be executed on the spot without mercy. The path of a beast tamer is paved with bones. Tread lightly. Su Hang let out a soul-crushing sigh. He glared at the stubborn egg in his trembling hands. He had poured his literal blood, sweat, and soul into it, but the damn thing remained frozen in stone. He felt an overwhelming surge of fiery indignation. Tomorrow marked the absolute final day of his 3-year grace period. Yet, the cursed egg showed 0 signs of life. Was his destiny truly this pathetic? Was his path to heaven-defying cultivation doomed to end before it even began? Consumed by absolute darkness, frustrated, he cast his gaze toward the desolate heavens. Suddenly, a blinding golden meteor ripped through the atmosphere. Its trajectory was terrifyingly erratic, and worse, it was plummeting directly toward his exact location. Before his brain could even process the incoming doom, the divine light completely shattered the settlement's 3 protective arrays. In true overpowered protagonist fashion, it violently slammed right into the center of his forehead. Just like every legendary cultivation tale, his consciousness was instantly blacked out. Su Hang was violently pulled into a heaven-shaking vision. Within this cosmic dreamscape, endless legions of terrifying, tyrannical primordial dragons were arrogantly roaming through the endless starry void, and hovering above them all as their supreme, undisputed ruler was him. But his glorious emperor dream was brutally shattered. A screeching, arrogant voice ripped him back to reality. "Hey, trash, wake your pathetic self up. If you don't move now, even the gods won't be able to save your miserable life." Su Hang groggily forced his heavy eyelids open. He was shocked to realize he had been unconscious outside the camp the entire night. Towering over him with a deeply condescending sneer was an incredibly arrogant enforcer. The bastard was screaming at the top of his lungs, viciously interrogating him for sleeping on the streets. Lowly cadet trash absolutely have 0 rights to loiter within the inner fortress. The enforcer violently thrust his brutal leather whip towards Su Hang's face, demanding an answer, to see if this garbage truly had the guts to break the ultimate curfew. Su Hang wearily shook his head, his mind still spinning. What on earth actually happened last night? Was that heaven-defying dragon vision just a pathetic fantasy? The apocalyptic majesty of that dream had felt far too terrifyingly real. A bitter wave of supreme disappointment crashed over him. Primordial dragons and the legendary dragon tamer. Could a mortal beast tamer truly reach such godlike realms of power? The arrogant enforcer, seeing that Su Hang was completely ignoring him and muttering to himself, felt his precious pride violently insulted. How dare this useless trash look down on him? Boiling with killing intent, he raised his heavy spiked whip high into the air. He slashed it down ruthlessly towards Su Hang's defenseless body. Thinking the boy was just faking stupidity, the bloody lash violently tore across Su Hang's cheek. Caught entirely off guard, he could only touch the stinging, bloody gash on his face. Today, he had fully intended to humbly report to the scavenger squads. He knew his miserable fate was to be brutally exiled to the outer wastelands, forced to scavenge for scraps of food just to survive. But this sadistic enforcer twisted his mere presence into a severe curfew violation. The bastard coldly declared he would deliver 12 devastating lashes of punishment. He sadistically mocked Su Hang, wanting to see if this half-dead trash could even survive a single step into the monster-infested wilderness after this beating. But right at that explosive moment, the petrified egg in his arms began to violently tremble. A sharp crack echoed through the air. A nearby lackey's eyes widened in absolute shock, frantically screaming for his boss to look. Holy heavens! It was actually cracking open. The beast was finally hatching. Pure, unadulterated ecstasy exploded across Su Hang's face. 3 brutal years of blood, sweat, and endless mockery. On the absolute final day, the heavens had finally granted him a miracle. All his agonizing patience was about to pay off. Su Hang thrust the glowing egg triumphantly toward the sky. I have completely defied my fate. I actually succeeded. 3 years of swallowing endless humiliation and agonizing bitterness were absolutely not in vain. I finally did it. The sadistic enforcer's arrogant face instantly drained of all color. Oh, he was totally screwed now. The pathetic garbage he had just mercilessly whipped and degraded had actually awakened as a true beast tamer. This was a massive misunderstanding. It was all just a tiny little joke between brothers, right? Have a magnificent yesterday, my beloved friend. Wait, have a glorious noon. Trembling with sudden fear, he respectfully bowed and called him Lord Su-hang. The completely terrified lackey frantically promised to sprint like a dog and fetch the elite instructor to officially verify his exalted beast tamer status. He desperately bootlicked, swearing that Lord Su-hang was destined to ascend straight to the heavens. Suddenly, an incredibly gorgeous woman, with an aura so overwhelmingly powerful and a figure so flawless she commanded instant respect, gracefully approached. She coldly ordered the trembling lackey to stand down. There was no need to call anyone. She was none other than the supreme head instructor of the Elite Tamer Academy, the legendary beauty, Lu Yu. She confidently strode forward and authoritatively commanded Su-hang to demonstrate his soul connection with the newly awakened beast egg. Su-hang hurriedly complied with the absolute command of his superior. He gently pressed the vibrating egg against his cheek. With eyes full of deep devotion, he tenderly whispered to the little life inside, "Come out, little one. I have waited so long for you, after enduring so much suffering." The egg finally resonated with him. It spoke an ancient tongue. Lu Yu couldn't hide her satisfaction. She praised him relentlessly. A heavy hand of approval landed on his shoulder. She warmly welcomed him to the Black Lantern stronghold. It seemed her squad had just struck gold, recruiting a beastmaster with limitless potential. But suddenly, her sharp gaze locked onto something. Who dared to lay a finger on Su-hang? Following our main character's pointing finger, she spotted the miserable thug. "Big sis, get payback for my handsome face," the terrified man was instantly pinned down by her lethal aura. "You have the guts to strike a beastmaster? How brave." Her sentence was absolute. 20 lashes of the whip, then banishment to the wasteland with the scavengers. He was given 2 simple choices: walk out alive or die right here. He had played a deadly game and lost. The thug wailed like a dying beast for mercy. But both Su-hang and Lu Yu had already turned their backs on trash. She escorted him to the Stronghold's core pavilion. Here, he was granted an audience with Stronghold Lord Zhou He. The mighty leader demanded verification. Was Su-hang truly the first one to successfully hatch a dragon egg this season? Lu Yu gave a firm nod. She then revealed the full story. Su-hang was supposed to join the scouting party. Who would have thought? He would shatter his limits overnight. Long story short, the Federation needed to reward this prodigy heavily. The Lord was utterly caught off guard. At the final hour, Su-hang had executed a heaven-defying turnaround. A true carp leaping over the dragon gate. Not bad at all. Zhou He's eyes gleamed with deep admiration. Recognizing our hero's supreme grit, the Lord presented him with 2 legendary paths. First choice: if his beast was a scaled lizard, he would be gifted a genuine dragon scale, pulsing with supreme dragon-type bloodline energy. This artifact could skyrocket the incubation process, unlocking earth-shattering power, making it completely outclass ordinary beasts. There was even a 1% chance of triggering a divine mutation, infusing it with true ancestral dragon blood, guaranteeing limitless potential for the future. As for the second choice, he could simply wait for his second beast, and the Lord would let him pick from the royal treasury. Su-hang pondered deeply. A bird in the hand is worth 10 in the bush. He decisively chose the dragon scale, knowing it was the perfect catalyst right now. This bold choice greatly pleased the Lord. He promised immediate delivery by sunset, leaving behind only one profound warning. Never forget your roots. Pledge your absolute loyalty to the stronghold. With unyielding conviction and a resonant voice, Su-hang agreed from the very bottom of his soul. The Black Lantern stronghold was deeply divided, split brutally between the inner and outer sectors. The inner zone was a paradise for the elites, dripping with wealth and high cultivation status, a pristine sanctuary. The outer zone? It was pure, unfiltered hell, home only to the lowest dregs of society, a brutal slum where survival was a luxury. Su-hang finally navigated back to his humble shack, only to be ambushed instantly. His fierce older sister pinched his ear mercilessly. "You didn't come home all night." Panic and rage swirled in her eyes. She had been drowning in absolute terror. He was her only family left in this cursed world. If he died, she had no reason to live. She had rushed to the inner walls at dawn, only to be brutally pushed back, denied entry by the arrogant guards. She had been burning in a purgatory of anxiety, waiting helplessly for her little brother. Her worry had mutated into blazing fury. She was ready to rip his ear right off and feed it to the shadow wolves. Suddenly, a heavy knock echoed through the room. Who dared to interrupt her wrath? An elite courier sent by Lord Zhou himself, carrying 3 wrapped dragon scales and strings of pure gold coins for our hero. The courier bowed with absolute reverence, reminding him to guard the treasures with his life, showering the young beastmaster with supreme praise, wishing him a heaven-defying journey to the top. May you bask in the eternal glory of the 10 dragon gods, and may your beast's evolution shatter the heavens. The siblings' eyes widened into massive saucers, staring at the glittering mountain of wealth. If this is a dream, never wake me up. His sister was overwhelmed with euphoric joy. Her little brother had actually done it. He had successfully crossed the threshold into true power. Tears streamed down as they shared a desperate embrace. Mom and Dad would be so proud of you. Selling the family heirloom was finally worth it. Her brother was destined to become an untouchable legend, a mighty figure who would shake the realms. Sis? We still have company. The dramatic scene had gone on a bit too long. An awkward silence completely suffocated the room. The sister instantly snapped back to reality, clearing her throat with forced elegance, claiming she had urgent household chores to attend to. She ordered Su Hong to entertain the royal guest. Before fleeing the scene at light speed to hide her blushing face, the door clicked shut, leaving Su Hong sweating awkwardly from the intense family drama. But his focus quickly shifted back to the prize. He cracked open the mysterious box, revealing shimmering, blazing orange-red scales. The legendary dragon scales. They radiated a blinding, tyrannical, golden aura. Suddenly, a surge of power shot straight into his glabella. A divine golden tome materialized within his mind's eye, etched with ancient, unfathomable runes, unlocking an entire evolutionary skill tree. Upon absorbing this heaven-sent knowledge, Su Hong felt profound gratitude toward the Lord. He now understood the terrifying truth. A mature dragon snake lizard was an apex predator, a calamity-level threat capable of wiping out an entire settlement, compared to a pathetic mid-tier lizard. The beast, lying dormant in his hands, belonged to an entirely different dimension of power. The dragon blood roots looked withered and ordinary. He wasn't even sure if they still held medicinal value. He remembered the legendary genius girl, whose monstrous talent had shaken the heavens, earning the direct tutelage of Lord Zhou himself. The first spiritual egg Su Hang was trying to hatch already boasted high-tier danger levels. If he could force it to mutate into a dragon snake, he might secure a spot as the Lord's personal disciple. This realization sent Su Hong bolting out the door, dashing straight to the alchemy pavilion. He slammed 4 pure gold coins onto the counter, demanding a supreme evolution elixir for his dragon egg. Who knows? This gamble might just win him the ultimate golden ticket, becoming the heir to the Black Lantern stronghold. Su Hong rushed back and immediately began his work, drawing a complex, profound evolution array on the floor, placing the mystical egg dead in the center. As he channeled his spiritual chi, a phantom golden dragon erupted from the shell. It proudly spread its majestic wings. After 3 grueling years of dormant slumber, he thought his ultimate partner had finally arrived. But fate had a cruel twist in store. The spiritual phantom instantly sucked itself right back into the shell. Wait, what on earth? Su Hang crept closer, completely baffled. You little trickster, are you playing me? Suddenly, the eggshell began to fracture even further. Cracks spread like spiderwebs across the surface. Su Hang's heart hammered like a war drum in his chest. Would it be a basic lizard or a legendary dragon snake? Flash forward to the next morning. At the Grand Marshal training grounds, the Stronghold's elite troops were fiercely sparring, and the Grand Commander of this bloody spectacle? None other than the Ice Queen, Lu Yu. Watching her subordinates exchange brutal blows, 2 towering soldiers were loudly whispering about Su Hong, mocking him for his unhatched, useless egg. Who does he think he is? Skipping special ops training 4 times. He probably rotted away inside his own shack. They branded him an arrogant, lucky fool, just waiting for Commander Lu to brutally snap his neck. But speak of the devil. Our main character appeared like a summoned ghost. His timing was absolutely impeccable. Lu Yu's aura spiked with visible annoyance. She thought Su Hong had completely abandoned his duty. disrespecting her ironclad training camp, while the entire squad held their breath, expecting his execution. Su Hang confidently stepped forward. First, he offered a respectful bow to Lu Yu, explaining that missing training was utterly unavoidable. Lu Yu's murderous intent slightly receded, but she still demanded a rock-solid explanation, warning him not to play any cheap games. "You better tell me the absolute truth." With a knowing smirk, Su Hang issued a mental command, telling his little companion to emerge from the backpack. A pair of innocent, glowing eyes slowly peeked out. And then, the true reveal began. A tiny blue two-horned dragon blinked. Its adorable aura masked its true nature. Leaning against the protagonist's shoulder, it surveyed the room. The ultimate egg had finally hatched. A triumphant roar left its tiny jaws. The heavens had answered his prayers. But this was no ordinary cry. The air instantly grew heavy. Everyone froze in pure disbelief, their minds completely shattered. This was no common beast scale. This terrifying pressure belonged to a supreme ruler. Lu Yu stammered uncontrollably. He recognized this demonic aura. It was a peak-tier calamity species, the legendary dragon serpent lizard. She grabbed his arm instantly. They had to see City Lord Zhou. The Lord's reaction was completely unhinged. He slammed his palms against the massive desk. A peak-tier supreme species. His first time hatching a divine dragon egg, and it was an absolute god-tier grade. He furiously barked orders at Lu Yu. Find the creator of this heavenly beast egg. They had actually tried to sabotage Su Hang. The Lord furiously contacted the disciplinary bureau. Deduct the salaries of those 3 corrupt elders. They dared to swap the divine dragon egg, replacing it with a trash-tier lizard egg. Doing so almost ruined a heavenly genius. The Lord's tone completely shifted towards Su Hang. His voice dripped with sudden, calculating warmth. You have endured so much these past few years. Fate has truly blessed your cultivation journey. You defied the heavens and succeeded, overcoming every mortal obstacle in your path. If you had hatched a normal taming egg, or even a high-tier monster, you would be completely ordinary like Su. But true masters rise from bitter adversity. Using this divine dragon as your supreme foundation, your path to the heavens will absolutely bow to no one. Su Hang clenched his fists with fierce determination. He would never betray the Lord's lofty expectations. The City Lord smiled proudly. His elite military training program had finally captured a supreme, heaven-defying talent, a warrior of unmatched intellect and fearless courage. The Lord showered him with endless flowery praise. The protagonist absorbed every single word. The master's real motive was finally revealed. As expected, Zhou wanted him as a personal disciple. Su Hang feigned utter shock. But inside, his soul was roaring with absolute triumph. Lu Yu's jaw dropped to the floor. Even Su Hang felt a flicker of doubt. 3 years had passed since the Lord took genius by Su. Now, he wanted Su Hang as his true legacy heir, a miraculous once-in-a-thousand-years destiny. Su Hang dropped to one knee instantly. He respectfully called Zhou his supreme master. The Lord threw his head back and laughed. He ordered a massive, legendary banquet for tonight. All free elite beast tamers were summoned. The true purpose was to shock the martial world, witnessing the birth of Black Rock City's ultimate genius. The Lord wanted the entire realm to know. This was how you establish absolute, terrifying dominance. Subordinates bowed in deep, trembling reverence. They toasted to the new legacy disciple's heavenly future. The legendary feast raged until midnight. Shielded by the Lord's elite shadow guards, Su Hang and his sister returned safely to their humble home. His monthly tamer allowance was now 100 gold taels. He could finally buy back their ancestral estate, the same precious home his sister sacrificed, just to fund his grueling cultivation journey. 3 years of blood, sweat, and bitter tears. She could never save that much mortal gold alone. Pride shined brightly in her eyes. Her little brother's future was boundlessly bright. They shared a warm, quiet goodnight. Returning to his silent cultivation chamber, Su Hang sat perfectly still in the dark. His mind unlocked the ancient, mystical golden book, the defining line between mortal beasts and terrifying calamity species. Was their innate, heaven-granted talent to command world energy. The sacred martial art of channeling this ultimate power was known as a divine energy skill. It dictated a tamed beast's absolute combat rank. The dragon serpent lizard was a peak-tier calamity existence. Its innate spiritual energy was undeniably monstrous and terrifying. Despite its cute, completely non-threatening appearance, its ancestral bloodline held immense secrets. The Dragon Sleep skill allowed instant regeneration of stamina and fatal wounds. Most low-tier draconic races possessed weak, pathetic auras. But this beast carried the Earth Core Sacrifice, a devastating, earth-shattering elemental destruction art, combined with extreme defensive recovery, and supreme, immortal draconic vitality. The little dragon's life force was practically infinite, an unkillable juggernaut that refused to die, the absolute perfect defense. But the final evolutionary branch was the darkest, the supreme, heaven-destroying demonic attribute. Its ultimate bloodline art was Evil Breath, packing the terrifying, complete annihilation power of a true, legendary, low-tier dragon's roar. Absolutely terrifying, world-breaking potential. Su Hang gazed down at the tiny creature, snoring peacefully in its woven bamboo basket. He smiled, gently stroking its scales. You will become the world's strongest mutant beast. Suddenly, a loud pop echoed through the silent room. Was it just a tiny, harmless dragon fart? No. Its physical form was violently expanding, the terrifying growth speed of a calamity species. Completely and utterly defied the laws of nature. The very next morning, he marched into the arena, stepping into the elite tamer's training hall. Master Zhou, he praised the dragon's absolutely terrifying combat potential. The master ordered an immediate, thorough power test. They needed to measure its 3 innate energies. Only then could they forge its true, ultimate cultivation path. Zhou He raised his weathered, battle-scarred hand. His dominant aura was pure, terrifying demonic type. A blood-red glow erupted fiercely from his palm. Behold, the legendary taming seal. These ancient spatial artifacts housed colossal beasts in deep, temporal hibernation. The pocket dimension allowed rapid stamina recovery for special mutant species. Once a tamed beast reached its fully mature state, its physical size became absolutely world-breaking. A master tamer commanded an entire army of beasts. Taming seals disguised themselves as mere mortal trinkets: bracelets, necklaces, chest pins, and pocket watches, earrings, pendants, anklets, and countless other forms. The master's supreme spatial seal ignited. A monstrous shadow leaped into the training arena. A long-tailed wolf with eyes of fresh blood. The Crimson Evil Wolf, a secondary Terror-class primal beast. Its cultivation had completely peaked at the high Terror realm. This terrifying beast was the absolute vanguard, the main killing machine of City Lord Zhou He. He wanted to unleash this total nightmare, to test the newborn dragon's absolute limits. A totally fair and reasonable spar, right? Just a friendly master-disciple exchange. Fair my foot. This was pure, unadulterated bullying. Master, can I absolutely, positively refuse this? The teacher was pushing it way too far. The Crimson Evil Wolf was a terrifying hybrid, fusing demonic malice with pure feral slaughter. He ordered Su Hang to summon the dragon immediately. Everything depends on the little blue dragon's own willpower. True strength is forged in the bloody fires of survival. If you're terrified, just spit it out. Su Hang swallowed his nervous, trembling pride. He had no choice but to obey the absolute master. He tossed his little guinea pig into the ring, constantly reassuring the tiny blue dragon. It's okay. It's totally okay. It's just a friendly, harmless daytime spar. Just unleash your absolute maximum power. Failure is just the mother of a good beating. Zhou He commanded the Crimson Evil Wolf. Unleash your demonic breath pressure. Show this newborn dragon true, soul-crushing despair. But he sternly warned the wolf to hold back its actual fire. The wolf's jaws snapped open, condensing pure darkness into a swirling sphere of absolute, corrupted annihilation. But right before the blast violently fired, the master ordered the beast to shut its jaws. What the absolute hell was that? The fight ended before it even began. Su Hang's face froze stiff like a completely dumbfounded statue. But the little blue dragon had radically transformed. Its aura turned pitch black like abyssal hellfire, radiating the pure, arrogant dominance of a demon king. Seeing this, Zhou He could not hold back his manic, echoing praises. This little dragon is an absolute, terrifying monster, adorable on the outside, yet carrying a brilliant demonic intellect. It was perfectly mirroring the terrifying pressure that the Crimson Evil Wolf had just displayed. Keep pushing your limits, you little monster. Even though the attack was essentially a total dud, Zhou He realized the terrifying, heaven-defying truth. The newborn was instantly comprehending demonic arts, that dark purple mist surrounding its tiny, fragile body. It was the primal, terrifying origin of demonic breath. Su Hang had truly defied the heavens. He had claimed a world-shattering divine treasure. An unparalleled genius was officially born. The innate talent of the little Azure dragon was absolutely terrifying. Its combat instincts were sharp and incredibly adaptable. Just looking at that flawless counterattack, it was obvious this little beast was already awakening its hidden skills. Seeing this, Mentor Joe realized the Crimson Beast was no longer necessary for the test. He immediately recalled his familiar. The little Azure dragon sighed in relief, thinking it had survived the ordeal. But it had merely escaped the tiger's den to enter the dragon's lair. Mentor Joe's eyes gleamed with a wicked light. "Please, have mercy on the poor creature." But no, the mentor summoned another terrifying beast. This one possessed a forbidden fusion of earth, beast, and demonic elements. It ranked among the top 3 most horrific species in existence. It was a special-grade terror beast with a bizarre duck-like beak, and this madman actually wanted it to spar with the little Azure dragon. Heavens above! Spar with anything else, but this monstrosity? One peck from that beak could easily shatter a skull into pieces. The little Azure dragon was literally crying tears of despair. Su Hang felt his heart twist in absolute agony. Seeing his precious familiar trembling like a leaf, he desperately tried to intervene. He argued that such a horrifying, special-grade monster was absolutely unsuited for a newborn hatchling like his Azure dragon. It sounded perfectly logical. Mentor Joe rubbed his chin and nodded thoughtfully. Su Hang let out a breath, thinking the old master had finally seen reason. But alas, he was dead wrong. The mentor's twisted logic struck again. He actually thought the terror beast was too gentle for the little Azure dragon. In a flash of blinding light, he summoned an entirely different familiar. This time, the raging aura of fire erupted perfectly, fusing flawlessly with ancient dragon, suppression, and molten rock elements. It was his absolute trump card, the old master's one and only dragon-type familiar, the Magma Tyrant Dragon. Oh no, this was a catastrophic mistake. Things were escalating way out of control. The little Azure dragon frantically sent out desperate signals for help. Yet, to its absolute horror, its own master seemed utterly fascinated. But who could blame Su Hang? True dragon elements were as rare as phoenix feathers. Witnessing the legendary Magma Tyrant Dragon in the flesh sent surges of pure excitement through his veins. It was truly the accumulated blessing of 7,749 generations that allowed Su Hang to tame this Azure dragon lizard. Had fate not intervened with such heavenly fortune, he would have never even dreamed of becoming its master. Mentor Zhou revealed a harsh truth of the cultivation world. Countless seasoned beast tamers had spent lifetimes chasing a single dragon-type familiar, only to fail miserably. To tame a dragon, one did not just need skill. One needed undeniable heaven-sent destiny. Revelation struck Su Hang like a thunderbolt. It seemed that ancient golden grimoire, the 9 Sons Dragon-Taming Manual, had to remain his most fiercely guarded secret. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The battlefield was set. The Magma Tyrant Dragon merely cast a single, oppressive glance downward. That terrifying show of affection almost made the little Azure dragon wet the floor. Tears welled up in its tiny eyes. Overwhelming terror consumed its senses, leaving its fragile body trembling violently. Mentor Joe's voice echoed with absolute authority. He ordered the Magma Tyrant Dragon to unleash a fraction of its draconic aura. It was time to test the absolute limits of the little lizard's endurance. Hearing the master's command, the colossal beast did not hesitate. It opened its massive jaws and unleashed a world-shaking roar. The tyrannical pressure was absolutely suffocating. Even Su Hang, a fully grown man, was forced to cross his arms defensively. His mortal body was simply not equipped to withstand such a devastating shockwave of power. The sheer terror was unimaginable. He felt like a fragile wooden boat trapped in the heart of a raging ocean storm, facing the ultimate wrath of a hurricane. Just 1 second of lost focus, and he would be instantly obliterated by the aura of this supreme apex predator. Thank the heavens, Mentor Zhou was standing right behind him. The old master swiftly stabilized Su Hang's footing. If he had been a fraction of a second slower, every blood vessel in Su Hang's body would have spectacularly ruptured from the sheer pressure. Foolish boy, it is strictly forbidden to stand within an active blast zone. The master ruthlessly lectured the inexperienced Su Hang, before waving his hand to dispel the crushing gravity around him. Heavens above! Just what realm of power could produce such a bone-chilling suppression aura? Mentor Zhou turned his silent gaze toward the little Azure dragon. A brilliant spark of hope ignited in the old master's eyes. Against all odds, the tiny creature was actually withstanding the devastating draconic aura of the magma tyrant dragon. This absolute defiance only fueled the mentor's curiosity. He aggressively wanted to push Su Hang's little companion to its absolute breaking point. Increase the pressure by another notch. Show me what you have, magma tyrant. Following the merciless command, Mentor Joe's supreme familiar unleashed an even more ferocious pressure. The oppressive energy in the room multiplied exponentially. Yet, the minuscule little Azure dragon dug its claws into the ground, desperately refusing to yield to the overwhelming force. Mentor Joe's face twisted into an expression of profound amusement. He truly enjoyed torturing his disciple's precious summon. However, a flicker of disappointment soon crossed his seasoned eyes. Was the little Azure dragon only capable of blindly defending itself against the onslaught? But suddenly, the master's eyes widened in absolute shock. What in the heavens was happening? Was his flawless vision deceiving him? The little Azure dragon was actually manifesting a low-tier suppression aura. It was daring to clash head-on against the mid-tier draconic might of the mighty magma tyrant dragon. Despite being overwhelmingly outmatched, its warrior spirit refused to bow. Pure satisfaction washed over the old master's face. This unyielding display from the little Azure dragon lizard was phenomenal. He simply could not hold back his roaring praise. Outstanding. The innate talent of this hatchling is absolutely monstrous. It perfectly mirrored the stubborn resilience of its master. Truly, dragons breed dragons, and tigers breed tigers. The boundless potential within this tiny frame was practically unimaginable. A terrifyingly bright future lay ahead of it. In the future, it might even shatter the mortal shackles and surpass the realm of terror beasts. Su Hang's heart soared with uncontainable ecstasy. Was his very first familiar truly destined for such legendary greatness? While he celebrated, Mentor Joe suddenly remembered a crucial detail regarding their cultivation path. He strictly questioned Su Hang about the two elite mystic eel scales. Had they been consumed yet? Su Hang, honest to a fault, hid absolutely nothing. He proudly declared that the moment the Grandmaster's envoy delivered the treasure, he had immediately fed them to his beast without a second thought. Ah, so the deed is done. Mentor Joe stroked his beard, his eyes gleaming with profound realization. It seems this little Azure dragon possesses a monstrously resilient constitution to flawlessly absorb the specialized essence from those two exquisite mystic scales was no small feat. There was a massive probability it could awaken a dormant spark. A tiny fraction of the ancient dragon bloodline hidden within those scales. Once fully awakened, its innate draconic talents would unquestionably eclipse the original foundational abilities it currently possessed. Mentor Joe then retrieved a pitch-black manual he had personally authored. He solemnly handed this priceless artifact over to Su Hang. This was the absolute ultimate grimoire of beast-taming techniques and secret combat arts. He had meticulously prepared this legacy specifically for his new disciple. It was forged using a high-tier spiritual branding technique. Furthermore, the old master had embedded a secret spiritual cultivation art within its pages, a foundational breathing technique tailored perfectly for Su Hang's unique soul signature. True spiritual energy was the fundamental lifeblood of any summoned familiar. It was the absolute prerequisite for unleashing devastating magical techniques. Mentor Joe delivered a stern, unforgiving warning, while pushing his beast to the absolute limit. He must never, ever neglect his own mortal cultivation. A swift smack to the back of the head reinforced the lesson. Don't question the eccentric master's tough love. Su Hang grinned brightly, expressing his deep gratitude to his mentor. Upon stepping out of the Grand Fortress, he smoothly bought back the dilapidated childhood home they had lost years ago. That miserable landlord who used to treat them like utter trash. The moment he discovered Su Hang was an awakened beast tamer, his arrogant face instantly melted into pathetic, groveling politeness. As for his beloved older sister, Su Qing was currently still enduring her grueling work shift. Without hesitating, Su Hang rolled up his sleeves and purified the entire estate. He was determined to hit her with the ultimate heartwarming surprise. Although he lacked the magic to perfectly restore every broken memory, the restored warmth of their home was still an absolute victory. Reclaiming their sanctuary was a massive step forward. He masterfully kept his lips sealed, plotting the grand reveal. He decided to personally march down to her dreadful workplace. By escorting her back himself, the emotional impact would absolutely double. With hearts full of pure joy, Su Hang and the little Azure dragon marched off to pick up Su Qing. However, the heavens love to toy with mortal fates. Lurking within this heartwarming moment was an unforgivable, catastrophic nightmare waiting to unfold. His precious sister was currently being hunted like prey, cornered by vicious black wolves belonging to absolute street scum. A piercing scream from Su Qing violently shattered the peaceful air, striking the main character's ears like a physical blow. Instinct screaming, he instantly pinpointed her location and bolted like lightning. His one and only family member was in mortal peril. At this exact moment, Su Qing was balancing on the edge of a razor blade. Standing ruthlessly blocking her only path of escape were three utterly despicable street thugs. With filthy grins, they were deliberately tormenting the pure-hearted girl. These absolute degenerates dared to lay their sinful eyes on the protagonist's sister. Watching the helpless girl frantically back away, desperately trying to dodge their drooling beast familiars, only fueled their sick, twisted amusement. With zero shame, the ringleader mockingly offered a disgusting deal. If she obediently submitted and entertained them for the night, she would miraculously be spared from being viciously torn apart by those two demonic black hounds. So, you pieces of trash have actively chosen death. Entertain you? I will entertain you with a one-way ticket to the underworld. Su Hang materialized from the shadows like a god of vengeance. In his hand rested the ultimate equalizer, a solid brick. With explosive force, he hurled the projectile straight at the beast. He charged into the pack of thugs with murderous intent. A sickening crack echoed as a black wolf's skull was brutally smashed open. Su Hang planted himself like an impenetrable mountain in front of his trembling sister. The arrogant young master who dared to orchestrate this vile hunt was a worthless scumbag named Gu Zhengtian. This absolute trash was nothing more than a street rat with a silver spoon, relying heavily on his father's status as the plantation overlord. He practically walked over everyone with absolute impunity. But Su Hang's blazing eyes held nothing but pure, unadulterated disgust. He openly glared at the spoiled brat like he was looking at a dead man. If you value your pathetic life, get your filthy hands off my sister. The dark hound whimpered pitifully from the devastating strike it just received. One look at Gu Zhengtian's twisted, furious face, and it was crystal clear his heart was bleeding for his humiliated pet. He gritted his teeth, spitting out the word, "little bastard." How dare this trash kill his precious hound? Like master, like mutt. The remaining beast, named Jack, was just as vile as its owner, Ku Chin Tian. Hearing the kill command, the rabid beast lunged straight for our hero. Su Hang stood firm, shouting for his older sister to run. He would hold the line. Caught completely off guard, Su Hang only had a split second to raise his arms. But suddenly, the little blue dragon erupted with ancient draconic fury. Its crimson eyes blazed with pure wrath. In a flash, it tore a massive, bloody chunk right out of the hound's stomach. Crunch! Blood sprayed everywhere as the dying mutt whimpered. The dragon's lightning-fast brutality left everyone absolutely speechless. "Good boy. Bite that trash to death." Su Hang cheered, watching his summoned beast feast on the enemy. Ku Chin Tian nearly lost his mind in sheer terror. He cursed wildly, his fragile ego shattered by this absolute defiance. Pushed to the brink of madness, he drew cold steel. Gripping a gleaming blade, he wanted nothing more than to skewer the main character alive. Kill him, rip him apart. But Su Hang merely scoffed. Stepping back was never an option. He commanded the little blue dragon to unleash its innate skill, Dragon Majesty. Instantly, a terrifying wave of dark purple aura swallowed the alley. This suffocating pressure shattered the enemy's spirit. What on earth was this monstrous energy? They finally realized this little blue dragon was a supreme, top-tier mythical beast. Its unfathomable power warned them. One wrong move meant instant death. Suddenly, the scene shifted. Drawn by the explosive chaos, the city patrol arrived in full force. Ku Chin Tian nearly wet himself, fearing the iron fist of the law. But his twisted mind quickly hatched a venomous plot. Why not shift the blame? He would pin the entire bloodbath right onto the main character's head. An utterly shameless, yet cunning move. Ku Chin Tian smirked, convinced victory was already in his grasp. He had deep pockets and familiar connections with these patrolmen. He just needed to pull a few strings, and they would execute. This arrogant little bastard, Su Hang. He gleefully imagined our hero rotting in a dark cell, tortured until his spirit broke. Once, Su Hang was utterly powerless and out of the picture. Ku Chin Tian would finally claim his real prize, the beautiful older sister. His depravity knew no bounds. First, break the younger brother, then forcefully take the sister right in front of him. Su Hang felt absolutely disgusted. Sacrificing human lives just to avenge some mutts? Ku Chin Tian was truly worse than the beasts he raised. Birds of a feather flocked together, and this patrol captain was clearly part of the same corrupt flock. The captain eagerly approached Ku Chin Thien, bootlicking like he had found a mountain of gold. Sensing his perfect opening, the young master immediately spat out poisonous lies. He painted the siblings as bloodthirsty maniacs. He claimed Su Hang slaughtered his innocent pets for absolutely no reason. Talk about spitting blood on an innocent man. The corrupt captain did not even care for the truth. He instantly ordered his lackeys to shackle Su Hang like a common criminal. Armed with stun guns and cold steel, they tried to suppress our overpowered hero. "Surrender now, you ignorant little brat. Drop your weapons and kneel, or we will execute you on the spot." Su Hang calmly tossed a bloody brick onto the ground. "This brick killed the dog. If you want a culprit, arrest the brick. I have absolutely nothing to do with it." This absolute mockery made the guards choke on their own rage. A criminal on death's door still dared to talk back? They swore to lock him in the deepest abyss and torture him. But the little blue dragon would never let its master be insulted. It unleashed a terrifying draconic glare at the two worthless grunts. "Who gave you the right to bark at my master?" Facing the overwhelming killing intent of this mythical beast, cold sweat drenched the guards' spines. But the real shock was yet to come. Su Hang slowly revealed his trump card, the personal beast tamer badge of the Black Fort City Lord. "Cat, got your tongue? Open your dog eyes and look closely. Do you know exactly what this represents?" The two guards froze, completely paralyzed by fear. They had just kicked a massive, titanium hornet's nest. The patrol captain felt his soul leave his body. Rumors had been floating around that the city lord had just taken a legendary new disciple. 1,000,000 times over, he never imagined he would offend this supreme existence in such a ridiculously stupid way. Talk about an epic U-turn! The captain drew his gun and fired a warning shot. He furiously cursed Ku Chin Thien. "You blind, filthy trash! How dare you use your crippled mutts to block this noble lord's path? Assaulting his excellency is an unforgivable crime." The captain screamed at his men to violently arrest Ku Chin Thien on the spot. "Shoot to kill." Ku Chin Thien whined about being the real victim here. He desperately asked Captain Trin Tuan if there was some massive misunderstanding. Pushed to a corner, he played his final card, crying for his daddy. "My father is Ku Din Toan, manager of plantation number 5. Usually, that name carried enough weight to make any commoner tremble in absolute fear. In the past, Trin Tuan would have licked his boots. But things were completely different now. A plantation manager was nothing but insect dirt compared to a supreme beast tamer. Wham! The captain savagely punched Ku Chin Thien in the face. "Shut your mouth! I will beat you so bloody that even your own father will not recognize your corpse." This guy flipped sides faster than turning a page. Trembling like a leaf, he crawled before Su Hang, practically kissing the ground with a pathetic, fawning smile. Watching Trin Tuan's disgusting display, Su Hang honestly wanted to vomit. But true cultivation masters do not show their emotions so easily. He merely offered a cold, chilling smirk. "You three seem quite adaptable to the situation." Was that a compliment or a death threat? Only the heavens knew. Feeling the executioner's blade resting on his neck, the captain began singing like a canary. He practically begged to skin Ku Chin Thien alive. "Does this punishment please your excellency? I swear I will make them beg for death." That sounded like sweet music to Su Hang's ears. He accepted the offer, but left a terrifying warning. "If they survive your little prison, I will personally send them to hell." The captain felt his blood run freezing cold. This young man possessed an absolute demonic aura. Trin Tuan bowed deeply, not daring to utter a single breath of defiance. With the garbage finally cleared out, Su Hang gently pulled his sister back to reality. "It is all over now. Trust your little brother. Let us go home." They used to bicker like cats and dogs, but when danger struck, he became her invincible shield. Lin gazed at him with tear-filled eyes. She had never felt so proud. Hand in hand, the siblings walked toward the horizon. Only when Su Hang's majestic silhouette completely vanished did the terrified subordinate finally dare to speak. "Boss, what do we do now? Is it worse to offend a plantation manager or a supreme, heaven-defying beast tamer? Are you brain dead? In this cultivation world, beast tamers are the absolute apex predators. Offend one, and your entire bloodline is erased." Trin Tuan slapped his subordinate's head, ordering him to fetch a transport vehicle immediately. They would wait right here. His dark plan was already set in stone. He would drag Ku Chin Thien's pathetic gang straight to the toxic incinerator. He would burn them alive before they even woke up. Meanwhile, under the twilight sky, Lin followed Su Hang back to their humble abode. Overwhelmed by the day's brutal survival, she finally broke down into tears of pure relief. Returning to this moment, he assured her this was no mere dream. This was their new reality. He chuckled, telling his sister to calm her racing heart. What was the point of getting so worked up? Handing over a heavy set of keys to Su Ling, he made a bold declaration. Buying this luxurious new house was just the beginning. From this day forward, he would be the one protecting and spoiling his older sister. Naturally, Su Ling placed absolute faith in her younger brother. The wheels of destiny were turning, and their future looked brighter than ever. But right as the warm atmosphere peaked, a sudden knock shattered the moment. Su Hang rushed to open the heavy wooden door, wondering who would disturb them now. A middle-aged man stepped forward with a sycophantic smile. Joking that great men have short memories, he introduced himself as Vice Manager Guo of the local spiritual plantation. Su Ling immediately recognized the man's face, cautiously asking what brought someone of his status here. Guo revealed he had just received word from the guard division. It turned out the arrogant son of Gu Dingquan had dared to offend our main character. For such a heaven-defying crime, Guo could not simply sit back and watch. He eagerly revealed his ruthless plan. The offending noble would be banished to plantation number 30, forced to toil as a lowly common farmer. But that was no ordinary field. Rampant demonic beasts terrorized that land, with fatal accidents striking every 3 days. Since Gu Dingquan used to be a manager himself, Guo sneered that the father-son duo could surely survive the nightmare. Vice Manager Guo bowed low, asking if this bloody resolution pleased our young lord. Su Hang gave a vague, non-committal hum, keeping his true thoughts completely hidden. Sensing an opening to curry more favor, Guo quickly played his next card. He mentioned hearing that Su Ling was a highly skilled spiritual agriculturist. Without missing a beat, he shamelessly offered her the prestigious title of vice director at his facility. Catching the spark of excitement in Su Ling's eyes, the cunning manager cast a longer line to catch a bigger fish. He continuously flattered her, swearing she was born for this divine role. He promised she could come directly to him for absolutely anything. After all, she was the honorable older sister of a rising legend. Even if she lacked the qualifications, he would force the heavens to make her fit. Heh heh. Su Ling accepted the grand offer in a heartbeat. Respect is best shown through absolute obedience, after all. Meanwhile, a profound realization washed over our main character. In this brutal cultivation world, absolute strength forged absolute privilege. It truly validated the ancient proverb, with supreme power comes the right to trample the heavens. If he wanted to dominate, his little Azure dragon needed to cultivate with madness. Without wasting another breath, he stormed into the house and dragged out a massive barrel of spirit rice. He poured a mountain of the glowing grains into a giant bowl. Calling out to his little Azure dragon, he coaxed it gently. Be a good boy. Eat up and grow into a towering leviathan. Your master needs you to conquer this world and hoard its riches. He had painstakingly hauled these top-tier spiritual rations all the way from his master's peak. But looking at the massive pile, he realized he might have been a bit too heavy-handed. The little Azure dragon was barely the size of a cat. Shoving this much divine energy down its throat might literally explode the poor infant beast. The tiny dragon took 2 miserable bites of the glowing rice, bursting into pathetic, sparkling tears before abandoning the bowl entirely. Su Hang frowned, double-checking the sacred formula his master, Zhang He, had provided. It clearly showed the 8 absolute grades of beast-taming cultivation formulas, ranging from inferior to suitable to satisfying to good to outstanding to excellent to transcendent, and finally, the legendary perfect grade. The profound scroll his master had gifted him was a high-tier good-grade formula designed specifically for evil attribute infant beasts. For a rookie beast tamer, holding this scroll was like holding a kingdom's treasury. Yet, the little Azure dragon treated it like absolute garbage. Could the supreme spiritual ingredients somehow be flawed? In the midst of despair, a spark of pure genius ignited in his mind. He still possessed the supreme cheat item, the old Sun Dragon Tome. Summoning the golden grimoire from the void, he desperately flipped to the forbidden pages, detailing the cultivation of the dragon serpent lizard. The ancient runes revealed a shocking truth. Upon birth, the little Azure dragon would instantly devour its own divine eggshell. This provided enough primordial energy to sustain it for an eternity without normal food. Furthermore, as a heaven-defying 3-in-1, mutant of the earth, dragon, and evil attributes. Its cultivation formula could not rely on standard mortal logic. It required an exquisitely balanced, completely unique spiritual diet. The tome also noted an incredibly arrogant trait of the dragon-serpent lineage. They were profoundly picky eaters who craved only the freshest, bloodiest prey. The truth struck him like a bolt of heavenly lightning. The mystery was finally solved. Gently stroking the infant sovereign's scaled head, he vowed to forge a brand new, heaven-shaking formula for his little Azure dragon. Wealth was no longer an obstacle on his path to supremacy. With his master effortlessly throwing tens of millions his way every month, he was loaded beyond belief. He swore that his majestic beast would be raised like an absolute emperor, plump, powerful, and dripping with divine energy. It would feast on heavenly delicacies and wear the stars themselves, accelerating its evolution to godhood. For the next few days, Su Hang strictly followed the forbidden formulas hidden within the old Sun Dragon tome. Sparing no expense to nourish his monstrous companion, he stalked the spiritual fish markets before dawn. He hunted down the most vibrant, energy-rich seafood the ocean had to offer. Returning home, he masterfully crafted supreme feasts for the little Azure dragon. Devouring every last drop of marrow and scale, the beast feasted with terrifying, predatory delight. But this rapid evolution birthed a horrifying new crisis. By the dawn of the 5th day, our mighty main character was completely and utterly bankrupt. A single, pathetic gold coin rolled uselessly against the majestic tail of the dragon-serpent lizard. Damn the heavens! His wallet bled, and his soul wept in agony. Yet, when he gazed upon the terrifying majesty of his pet, all regrets vanished into the void. The infant dragon had grown to monstrous proportions. It had entirely bypassed the frail infant stage. The beast was already standing at the precipice of its spectacular growth phase, ready to undergo a legendary rite of passage. Swallowing his financial tears, Su Hang gritted his teeth and pushed forward. Every coin spent was an investment. In their supreme conquest of the martial world, a staggering realization hit him. Previously, when facing two demonic evil beasts, his dragon had to exert a fraction of its divine power to crush them. But now, the game had completely changed. He suspected his heavenly companion would not even need to cast a single martial skill. A casual bite, a lazy swipe of its claws, a brutal tear. That was all it would take to obliterate low-level trash in the blink of an eye. This was the absolute pinnacle of physical dominance. Su Hang brushed his fingers against the shimmering dragon scales. This authentic, god-tier armor was denser than heavenly iron. He could confidently swear that ordinary cultivators, lacking heaven-shaking magical artifacts, would never even scratch the surface of his invincible dragon-serpent lizard. Even if a squad of 5 heavily armed, muscle-bound warriors launched a coordinated strike, his pet would slaughter them into bloody mist before they could even scream. But right as he marveled at its supreme defense, the ungrateful beast fiercely squirmed away. Who gave you the audacity to throw a temper tantrum? Who emptied his absolute bank account to feed you, you little tyrant? Su Hang scoffed, withdrawing his hand from the arrogant lizard. Suddenly, a chilling memory surfaced. His master, Zhong He, had issued a strict command. The moment the dragon shattered the bottleneck of its growth phase, he was to report to the martial peak immediately. A cold sweat dripped down Su Hang's spine. It had only been 5 days. 5 days to achieve a breakthrough that should take lifetimes. Convincing that old monster of this terrifying speed would be harder than ascending to the heavens on foot. The primordial formulas within the old Sun Dragon tome were overwhelmingly overpowered. This was undoubtedly a transcendent grade secret, or perhaps even the mythical perfect grade. A dark glint crossed his eyes. He had to tread carefully, lest the cultivation world hunt him down for his heaven-defying secrets. His next priority was absolute mastery. He needed to train the dragon-serpent lizard to awaken its bloodline and perfectly execute its devastating martial skills. As for his god-tier feeding schedule, he had to slam on the brakes instantly. He decided to delay his report by at least 10 excruciating days. Otherwise, he would be completely destitute from feeding this black hole of a pet. 10 tense days passed in a flash. Su Hang finally carried his little Azure dragon back to the ancient fortress of Master Zhang He. Knock, 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 a booming voice echoed from the shadows. State your business, or face the consequences. If it is my disciple, enter immediately. Having not seen his student for nearly half a month, the old master honestly believed Su Hang had forsaken his martial roots entirely. Su Hang bowed apologetically. He explained he had been locked in closed-door cultivation, pouring his soul into raising the dragon serpent lizard, which explained his absence from the fortress training grounds. He confidently claimed to have strictly followed the exact formula his esteemed master had bestowed upon him. Then, he dropped the bombshell. His majestic beast had officially crossed the threshold into its growth phase. He kept his poker face flawless. Little did the old man know, our cunning main character had intentionally delayed this report for 10 whole days, even starving his divine pet to hide its heaven-defying evolution. Yet, upon hearing the news, the Grandmaster's jaw practically hit the floor. Su-hang groaned internally. Even with a massive 10-day delay, this old monster still thought the breakthrough was impossibly fast. 15 days in the cultivation world was practically moving at a snail's pace, right? Smack. For asking such a foolish question, the Grandmaster ruthlessly chopped the top of our hero's head. The old man roared in sheer disbelief. This wasn't just fast, it was absolutely logic-defying. He furiously explained that Bai Susu's legendary Ice Lotus took an entire grueling month of blood and sweat just to crawl from its infant stage into its growth phase. Su-hang cursed his own ignorance. If he had known the standard cultivation timeline was this agonizingly slow, he would have locked his little Azure dragon away for another 10 days just to blend in with the ordinary trash. Master Zhong, he finally stopped pummeling our main character's skull. Staring intensely into Su-hang's eyes, the master laid out the brutal truth of the beast hierarchy. The Ice Lotus was a high-tier danger-class beast. It was entirely 2 evolutionary realms beneath. The terrifying majesty of the dragon serpent lizard. Panic seized Su-hang's heart. He was completely and utterly busted. He stood utterly paralyzed, praying to the heavens above. Beat me to a pulp if you must, old man. Just do not ask me how in the 9 heavens my tiny monster managed to shatter the laws of cultivation so quickly, because our overpowered hero genuinely had no lies left to spin. But fortune favors the bold. Blinded by Su-hang's overwhelming aura, Master Zhong he simply rationalized the impossible. He concluded that the dragon serpent lizard did not just possess transcendent talent, but possessed a terrifying, heaven-defying destiny, not to mention its monstrous innate growth rate. Since it had reached the maturation stage, its skill mastery must be quite profound. His master questioned if he had tempered the awakening abilities of the dragon snake lizard. Naturally, our overpowered main character had. Little Azure Dragon's draconic majesty had already broken through to Tier 1. Simultaneously, it unlocked 2 terrifying branches, draconic coercion and draconic terror. How was that for shocking? He practically waited for his master's jaw to drop. But wait, there was more. The malicious breath technique also evolved to Tier 1, forging the malicious bullet. Hearing this insane progression, Master Zhou nearly lost his mind. Was this a heavenly skill storm or what? To achieve such godlike mastery in a fraction of a heartbeat was utterly defying the heavens. Su-hang humbly deflected the praise, crediting his master's unparalleled guidance. Yet, witnessing the sheer disbelief plastered across his mentor's face, our main character realized he needed to keep a low profile. Thank the heavens he kept his mouth shut about the earth, shattering dragon force, and the oppressive dragon gaze that his little Azure dragon had just comprehended on the rooftop last night. Otherwise, the poor old man might have actually foamed at the mouth. Magnificent, truly magnificent. Master Zhou beamed with absolute satisfaction, validating that his eye for talent was as sharp as ever. He immediately summoned his disciple to the grand training grounds. He needed to witness this miraculous progress with his own 2 eyes. Standing upon the Fortress Master's private arena, the atmosphere grew heavy. Before the ultimate trial began, Master Zhou, he observed the flawless form of the young beast. He silently vowed that if this performance met his high expectations, he would bestow a divine taming artifact upon the boy. After all, the little Azure dragon was growing at a monstrous rate. Dragging a massive magical beast everywhere was becoming quite the headache. Not to mention, it would totally scare the living daylights out of ordinary citizens. As a majestic beast tamer, lacking a personal storage artifact was simply unacceptable. Su-hang locked eyes with his draconic companion, giving it a meaningful wink. With eyes full of sparkling ambition, securing that heavenly artifact from his master rested entirely on this little guy's shoulders. Show them your true power, my royal beast. Without wasting another breath, Master Zhou, he summoned a towering beast of stone, the heavy-armored rock bear monarch. The objective was crystal clear, a ruthless clash of titans against the young dragon snake lizard. Heavens above, this master was going all out. Su Hang shuddered, wondering just how many terrifying entities lurked within his master's arsenal. Every single lesson revealed a new mythical creature. However, for an elite powerhouse like Johei, this casual display of dominance was merely a Tuesday. Weak pets? He had zero. But apocalyptic, kingdom-destroying beasts? The man casually hoarded anywhere from 10 to 20 of them. Their power levels, matching this rock bear monarch and the magma dragon tyrant, only accounted for half his collection. Humble? The old monster did not know the meaning of the word. But hey, a supreme master has every right to flex his supreme might. Master Zhou, his voice boomed like thunder, officially commencing the combat trial. The conditions were brutally simple. To claim the divine artifact, our main character had to unleash his absolute peak strength. It was time to harvest the fruits of his relentless cultivation. Instantly, the heavy-armored rock bear monarch surged with earth-shattering energy. Its maw opened wide, unleashing a shockwave, so devastating that Su Hang and his draconic pet were nearly blasted off their feet. But the little Azure dragon was no pushover. It instantly erupted with draconic coercion. You want a death match? The mighty dragon will gladly grant you absolute despair. Master Zhou, he stroked his chin, eyes gleaming with profound approval. A mere matured stage beast completely nullifying an overlord's aura. Astounding, with a flick of his wrist, he halted the monstrous stone bear. The warm-up was over. It was time for the main event. He demanded to witness the malicious breath technique to truly gauge the Azure beast's limits. Without a second thought, our hero commanded his legendary familiar to unleash the forbidden arts. Dark energy gathered violently, condensing into a malicious bullet within its jaws. Like a shooting star of pure destruction, the blast launched straight at the armored rock bear monarch. The distance closed in a flash, yet the stone titan did not even flinch. The devastating strike barely scratched its terrifying armor. Master Zhou, he smirked, hurling a taunt. Has your dragon been skipping meals? Or why is that strike as soft as cotton? Oh, old man, never underestimate a heavenly bloodline. Bear witness to true absolute power. The dragon triggered the rapid-fire malicious bullet mode. In the blink of an eye, the little Azure dragon's aura exploded to the heavens. Violent purple lightning arced across its scales, as 3 concentrated orbs of dark annihilation fired simultaneously into the void. Taste the wrath of an apex predator, and bow down. Taking the apocalyptic barrage head-on, the impenetrable rock bear's skull finally fractured. For 3 solid seconds, the master stood paralyzed. Then, a wildly fanatic grin split his face. Exceptional. Absolutely heaven-defying. To silently chain an awakened technique into a rapid-fire bombardment of malicious bullets, while maintaining such terrifying velocity and pinpoint precision? Pure genius. Master Zhou, he showered the master pet duo with endless roaring praise. Little did the old master know, Su Hang was still hiding his ultimate trump card, a suppressive blanket barrage, designed to utterly obliterate any chance of survival. Master Johei, his booming laughter shook the arena, thoroughly ecstatic with his disciple's monstrous potential. True to his word, the Supreme Master bestowed a legendary golden artifact, the Ring of the Flame Warden. While its spatial realm was not as boundless as his master's, it could effortlessly house 5 colossal familiars. And if they did not mind squeezing tight, it could easily contain up to 10 mythical beasts. After passing down the precious artifact, the mentor dropped a heavy piece of wisdom. The dragon's raw power was godlike, but its actual battlefield intuition was as fragile as an unhatched egg. Only the baptism of true, life-or-death slaughter could forge a true sovereign. Thus, destiny called our hero to the blood-soaked northern defense garrison, where clashing with apocalyptic mutant species was practically a daily routine. 3 dawns later, Su Hang was ordered to report to the Supreme Command Center. Guarding the radiant sanctuary beyond the towering monolithic walls were 4 impenetrable defensive perimeters. Each front line boasted unbreakable steel fortresses, elite beast tamers, and an endless sea of heavy military firepower. Yet, among these bastions of humanity, the battlegrounds of the south and the north were legendary meat grinders. Horrific demonic hordes crashed against their gates daily. In fact, the absolute majority of precious biological cultivation resources flowing into the city were harvested directly from the bloody slaughter on these 4 brutal front lines. Within the 3-day grace period, Su Hang secured his monstrous monthly stipend of over 250,000 credits. Without hesitation, he burned more than half. To hoard premium spirit resources for his dragon, he meticulously spent those 72 hours, concocting a supreme, long-lasting cultivation diet. Following the strict deployment orders of the Outer City Military Command, he was officially drafted into Vanguard Squad 7 on the brutal Northern Front. Right now, our overpowered main character was marching straight into the jaws of death. This sprawling sanctuary, anchored by the 4 Great Walls, was more than just a military zone. Half of it was dedicated to vital wilderness plantations. However, the safe zone's territory was strictly confined. With only 7 major spirit farms in existence, their total resource output was completely unable to feed the 50 to 60,000 souls trapped within the settlement. Toiling in these outer wall plantations carried a death rate just as catastrophic as joining the elite scavenger vanguard. It was an absolute nightmare zone that every single citizen prayed they could escape. If our hero's memory served him right, the 5th plantation run by Gu Ding Quan had recently been swallowed up by the military draft. And now, heading toward Outpost 30, lay the supposed safe haven of the northern defensive perimeter. The moment our hero set foot onto the military base, the atmosphere instantly shifted. After the customary exchange of bootlicking and hollow pleasantries with his new comrades, the main character naturally morphed into the absolute center of the universe. It was an unavoidable consequence, really. Arriving in a royal escort personally driven by the chief of staff, hauling an entire convoy loaded to the brim with premium spirit food for his draconic beast, this screamed that he was a genuine, elite-class beast tamer. The surrounding grunts stood paralyzed with shock for a solid minute before their survival instincts kicked in. The absolute truth of the world hit them. They needed to shamelessly hug this golden thigh immediately. Brothers, charge. Without a second's hesitation, they swarmed our hero like desperate moths to a blinding flame. Showering him with ultimate flattery, they begged for the honor of carrying his luggage. The purple-haired man introduced himself with a nervous smile. He politely hinted that the 7th front line would be relying heavily on Su Hang's protection from now on. We all know the drill. There is no need to flatter a true expert when his strength speaks for itself. Su Hang decided to call the man Little Huang, instantly winning over the veteran's genuine respect. The squad picked up the pace, eager to head back and throw a welcome feast for our main character. Let us rewind the timeline to the northern defense line. This region boasted a total of 29 outposts, and Su Hang was stationed at number 7. Over 10 years ago, catastrophic beasts had reduced this place to absolute rubble. Not a single soul remained. Yet the 7th front line was rebuilt right on top of those ashes. This desolate wasteland would soon become Su Hang's legendary battleground. Dinner time arrived. Little Huang handed our hero a steaming bowl of noodles, urging him to taste A Wen's cooking. The ingredients were cheap, but A Wen's culinary skill was absolute perfection. Su Hang, however, disliked the formal titles. He told Little Huang to just use his real name. But a beast tamer possessed a wildly supreme status in this world. Little Huang did not dare overstep his boundaries, deciding to call him Brother Su instead. To keep things fair and avoid shortening his own lifespan, Su Hang replied, "Then I will call you Brother Huang." Su Hang then asked about the encounter rate with dangerous species. Our outpost is stationed at the outer fringes, so we face much less pressure than the inner zones. Even so, plenty of beasts slip through the cracks. Xiaolu gnawed on a chicken leg while pointing at a pile of monstrous carcasses they had slaughtered over the past few days. Every single beast would be tallied by the military brass at the beginning or end of the month. These kills translated directly into military merit points for lavish rewards. Su Hang highly praised the combat readiness of the squad. They were not beast tamers, yet they had achieved staggering results. Overjoyed, Xiao Hu excitedly begged to witness the supreme power of Su Hang's contracted beast. Old Huang flinched and immediately scolded his subordinate for making such an insolent request. But Su Hang just brushed it off with a smile. "Since you are all so curious, I will give you a little show." He summoned his little Azure dragon on the spot. The majestic creature materialized, leaving everyone completely thunderstruck. Hearing Su Hang confirm its identity, Xiao Hu practically worshipped him. "Your very first contracted beast is already this mind-blowing?" But the proud Azure dragon did not care for mortal praise. It unleashed a terrifying dragon aura, scaring Xiao Hu out of his wits. Su Hang immediately bonked the dragon on its head. "How dare you bully your own allies? So insolent!" The Azure dragon cried tears of grievance, staring at its master with puppy dog eyes. Seeing Su Hang's concern, Xiao Hu quickly waved his hands, sighing in absolute relief. Su Hang's beast was simply too overpowered. But Xiao Lu could not resist teasing him. "You were shaking so hard. You almost wet your pants. Do not ruin our appetite." The entire squad erupted into roaring laughter, completely delighted by the banter. As night fell over the outpost, that first shared meal forged a powerful bond between Su Hang and the 5 veterans. While the others rested, Su Hang seized the moment to practice his mental cultivation technique. It was called the crystal breathing method. The process was divided into 3 grueling steps. First, purging all distracting thoughts to forge a giant crystal. Second, synchronizing with a highly specific breathing frequency. Finally, tempering the core of his spiritual power. Given his current cultivation base, reaching the crystal clear realm would take at least half a year. Su Hang opened his eyes and stared at his hands. He remembered how Bai Tutu achieved the crystal clear state in just 1 month like an absolute monster. Suddenly, a piercing siren shattered the silence. An emergency warning. Old Huang sprinted toward Su Hang. "We have a massive problem. A swarm of blood-red mantis monsters is flying straight toward us." Peering through his binoculars, Su Hang identified the threat. They were dangerous beasts known as the sickle-armored mantis. These lethal predators were extremely common along the northern defense line. Old Huang knew these creatures, possessed terrifying offensive power, but suffered from fragile limbs. He guessed they would not be too hard to exterminate. Without hesitation, he ordered the squad into battle formation. Old Huang and Xiao Lu took the high ground at sniper position number 1 in the northwest. Xiao Hu and Awen covered positions 5 and 6 on the first floor. 3 mature beasts for them, while the single adult stage beast was left for Su Hang. With their battle plan set, the 6-man squad unleashed hell. A sniper round tore through the air. The mantis instantly sensed the lethal threat and activated its armor skill. But the bullet carried devastating kinetic force, piercing right through the beast's defensive barrier. Old Huang roared to wipe them out, but strictly ordered them to avoid headshots. Ruined heads meant worthless merit points. Su Hang stood calmly, analyzing the sickle mantis's armor. It was not particularly strong, but it could definitely deflect ordinary gunfire. Old Huang fired his heavy machine gun, shredding the beast's mouth and creating the perfect opening for the snipers. Through the binoculars, Su Hang watched the monster's defensive layer crack and spiderweb until it completely shattered under the heavy suppression fire. Seizing the ultimate opening, Xiao Lu pulled the trigger and blew the sickle mantis's head wide open. Su Hang marveled at the scene. So this is the legendary northern battlefield? They might not be mighty beast tamers, but their flawless teamwork forged through countless life-and-death struggles made them an overwhelmingly lethal force. 3 mature beasts were instantly wiped out. Only the adult stage mantis remained, and it was already turning to flee. Old Huang frantically yelled at Xiao Hu to pursue it and finish the job. The 3 men piled into an off-road vehicle. Xiao Hu locked onto the target with his sniper rifle. The gap between the roaring engine and the fleeing beast closed rapidly. Old Huang ruthlessly drifted the vehicle, completely blocking its escape route. The sickle mantis let out a furious screech and dropped into a desperate defensive stance. Su Hang stepped out of the vehicle, his eyes locking onto the prey. Instead of letting the snipers finish it off, he stepped right into the vanguard. He wanted to test his little Azure Dragon's evil strike. He instantly summoned his draconic lizard to the battlefield. The Azure Dragon immediately unleashed its lethal skill, forcing the mantis to spam its annoying armor ability again. But that pathetic shield was instantly obliterated by the dragon's overwhelming might. With a deafening crash, the sickle mantis was swatted out of the sky and slammed into the dirt. Su Hang looked at the twitching bug and sighed in mild disappointment. It seemed that annoying armor layer had slightly mitigated his dragon's raw damage output. He coldly commanded his beast to use Malice Bullet Barrage. Dark purple orbs of condensed draconic malice blasted from the lizard's jaws in a devastating volley. Trying to act tough now? Even with its armor active, the mantis could only cower in fear as its shell cracked inch by inch. Talk about being thick-skinned. It took a few moments of relentless bombardment to completely shatter the armor. Time for the finishing blow. The little Azure Dragon erupted with its dragon aura intimidation. The overwhelming draconic pressure completely paralyzed the crippled mantis in pure terror. Now, the Azure Dragon only needed to flex its draconic strength to rip the helpless monster to absolute shreds. The predator had become the prey. Blood fueled its draconic rage, and escape was now entirely impossible. Su Hang wasted no time. He commanded his Azure Dragon to unleash earth-piercing. The The ground instantly and violently trembled beneath their feet. A massive shockwave erupted. The earth shattered, morphing into razor-sharp stone drills. The spikes violently skewered the sickle armor bugs. The two men in the vehicle were completely paralyzed with fear. One look at the overpowered young man was enough. Su Hong did not need anyone's help. They knew they had better keep their mouths shut. Otherwise, they might just wet themselves in pure terror. The very next morning at Outpost Number 7, Little Tiger was loudly bragging about Su Hang's legendary battle. He praised how the young master single-handedly obliterated the mindless beast horde. Hearing this epic tale, Old Huang approached our main character. He previously thought Su Hang was just another arrogant, pretty-faced beast tamer. But he was dead wrong. This youth possessed absolute terrifying strength. Old Huang bowed his head in deep admiration. Su Hang felt a surge of pride, but kept his humble facade. He gracefully complimented Old Huang's tactical combat skills instead. Suddenly, A Wen sprinted over, shouting about incoming visitors. They rushed to the rooftop to investigate the commotion. Down below was a prestigious convoy from the military headquarters, but something was completely off. They usually blared their horns and arrived at high noon. Yet today, they descended upon the camp in dead silence at dawn. Was a massive crisis brewing? Su Hang's eyes narrowed, seeming to recognize the aura. The armored vehicles halted. A blond young man stepped out, radiating an overwhelming, kingly presence. This was none other than the Northern Defense Line's Supreme Commander, Lu Lang. Old Huang immediately snapped into a rigid, terrified salute. After all these years, the commander's terrifying aura had not diminished. Yet, Lu Lang actually remembered the old veteran's name. Old Huang was practically weeping tears of absolute joy. It was honestly a bit overly dramatic. Lu Lang had crossed the wasteland in under 10 minutes. Yet he was completely unfazed, not a single drop of sweat. His true goal? To see if Su Hang had adapted to the harsh outpost life. Hearing Su Hang's overly formal greeting, the commander's aura darkened. He demanded to know what Su Hang just called him. Sweating nervously, Su Hang quickly changed his tune. He saluted and respectfully called him Third Senior Brother. He obediently gave a military salute and reported his status. He was eating well and cultivating hard, his strength reaching the heavens. Lu Lang warmly ruffled his junior brother's hair. He had heard the rumors from their legendary master, Zhou He. The master had taken in an unparalleled, monstrous genius. Lu Lang missed their first meeting due to a sudden dungeon outbreak, so he came personally to make amends and formally meet Su Hang. Old Huang's squad nearly dropped dead from sheer shock. They thought Su Hang was just an elite beast tamer, but he was actually the true, direct disciple of the legendary Zhou He. Cold sweat drenched Old Huang's back. Thank the heavens he had not offended this absolute VIP. Lu Lang swiftly dismissed the awestruck soldiers. He needed maximum privacy with his junior brother. He finally revealed his true mission. Their master had ordered him to test the Azure Dragon's cultivation progress. Su Hang sighed internally. He thought the wilderness meant freedom, but he was still in the master's palm. Without hesitating, he summoned his little Azure Dragon. Lu Lang's jaw practically hit the floor. He stared at the majestic beast in pure disbelief. How could a 1-month-old hatchling be this ridiculously massive? Did their master lie to him? Su Hang just played dumb and laughed it off. Lu Lang was just teasing anyway, his competitive spirit blazing to life. He bragged about his own dragon's legendary size back in the day. With a battle-hungry grin, he challenged Su Hang to a beast-taming duel. Su Hang was left completely speechless. Lu Lang desperately wanted to pit his own dragon-type beast against the legendary Azure Dragon. The air shattered as Lu Lang summoned his Earth Rhino Dragon. It was time to test the absolute limits of this young hatchling. The mighty Rhino Dragon stomped onto the battlefield. It was an Earth and Dragon attribute beast, sharing the exact same noble lineage as the Azure Dragon. But Lu Lang had cultivated this monster to an unimaginably high realm. Relying on its impenetrable armor, it could effortlessly slaughter Terra-class beasts once fully matured. Lu Lang had spent years turning it into his ultimate trump card. The massive Rhino Dragon took a single, earth-shaking step forward. The sheer, terrifying pressure made the little Azure Dragon burst into frightened tears. Seeing his pet trembling, Su Hang quickly pleaded with his senior brother. He begged him to hold back his terrifying power. If he wasn't careful, his baby dragon would be instantly crushed. Lu Lang blinked in surprise before bursting into arrogant laughter. He proudly promised to show maximum mercy and treat the dragon delicately. His Earth Rhino Dragon was a perfectly disciplined killing machine. It wouldn't leave a single scratch on the young hatchling. Reassured by this promise, Su Hang's battle aura ignited. The fierce duel officially commenced. Lu Lang commanded his beast to use Earth Trample. He wanted to give the little Azure Dragon a harsh wake-up call. The Rhino Dragon's massive foot slammed down. The very ground caved in, forming a massive, crushing crater. The cataclysmic shockwave made Su Hang and his dragon completely lose their footing. But Su Hang's sharp eyes noticed something incredible. It was the legendary levitation spell, a high-tier spiritual technique that allowed tamed beasts to overflow with boundless energy. But there was absolutely no time to marvel at it now. Su Hang desperately roared, commanding Evil Strike. The little Azure Dragon needed to escape the trample's deadly blast zone. It grabbed Su Hang's shoulders with its powerful claws and blasted into the sky. Escaping the catastrophic shockwave, the counterattack began. The Azure Dragon rained down a barrage of evil flash bullets. Volleys of dark purple energy crashed directly into the Rhino Dragon. But the smoke cleared, revealing absolutely zero damage. The defense gap was completely hopeless. Winning this battle was nothing but a foolish mortal's daydream. Even losing with dignity seemed totally impossible against such a monstrous opponent. But Su Hang refused to surrender. He had to prove his dragon's explosive growth potential. He could not let Master Zhou He down. He instantly switched to extreme high-speed hit-and-run tactics. The little Azure Dragon became a blur of motion, raining down continuous energy spheres. It opened its jaws, rapidly absorbing raw lightning energy. Infused with the power of thunder, it dive-bombed the enemy. A concentrated lightning strike blasted directly onto the Rhino Dragon's spine. The mighty behemoth finally flinched, taking minor damage. Instantly, the Azure Dragon cast Lightning Recovery. A brilliant azure aura enveloped its body, completely restoring its stamina. The two beasts locked eyes, their battle intent piercing the very heavens. Neither side was willing to back down a single inch. And then, the golden opportunity finally arrived. The Azure Dragon unleashed its ultimate move, Dragon Aura Earth-Piercing. The ground violently fractured beneath the massive beast. Su Hang thought this was his moment of glorious triumph. But reality was incredibly cruel. The Rhino Dragon merely glared at the rising earth spikes. With one casual stomp, it completely obliterated the attack. The sheer shockwave sent the little Azure Dragon flying like a broken kite. Lu Lang burst into roaring laughter at Su Hang's panicked expression. He admitted Su Hang's tactical genius was absolutely flawless. But absolute power reigned supreme. The level 9 Rhino Dragon was simply on another entirely different dimension. Su Hang coughed up imaginary blood in sheer frustration. So much for showing mercy and holding back. Lu Lang walked over with a massive, triumphant grin, having tested the true limits of the Azure Dragon's power. He slapped Su Hang's shoulder, proudly declaring that their master would be absolutely thrilled. The two brothers walked back into the base, side by side. Lu Lang had to admit the terrifying truth in his heart. Su Hang's beast was evolving at a freakishly monstrous pace. Master Zhou. He had truly unearthed an era-defining genius. Time flowed like a raging river. Not long after the commander departed, the freezing winter solstice descended upon the land. The outpost temperature dropped to a bone-chilling extreme, without towering city walls to block the raging storms. Surviving the deadly winter would be their next ultimate trial. The freezing northern winds cut to the absolute bone. With no heating artifacts in sight, they could only rely on basic sleeping bags. The bitter cold made sleep impossible, leaving teeth chattering in the endless night. Ah Van chuckled, tossing a smug grin. Just awaken as a beast tamer. Your spiritual energy will shield you from the frost. But before the banter could continue, blaring sirens shattered the silence. Everyone jolted awake. Old Huang burst through the doors with grim news. A dangerous species outbreak at Plantation 25. The main vanguard immediately mobilized for a high-stakes subjugation mission. Armored transport vehicles tore through the pitch-black night. Captain Li laid out the grim reality. Plantation 25 had completely fallen. Over 20 mid-tier demonic beasts and countless low-tier monsters had breached the perimeter. Surviving workers were trapped inside the staff dormitories. Their only line of defense? A measly 10 security guards fighting a desperate battle. The situation was hanging by a literal thread. A massive pack of shadow wolves had encircled the compound. Without immediate backup, the inner defenses collapsing under the monstrous siege was only a matter of time. Total mobilization. Reinforcements from outposts 3 and 4, alongside the main forces of 2 plantations, were deployed. They had to assemble before 4 in the morning to launch a synchronized counterattack. Old Huang barked at Little Hu to push the engine to its absolute limit. Tires screeched as the convoy finally halted at the northwest gate 6 of Outpost 25. Old Huang instantly tapped into the comms, reporting to the Northern Imperial Command. Squad members Trang Triu, Little Hu, and our main character, Su Hang, had reached the designated drop zone. The commanding officer gave the green light. The heavy convoy rumbled past the gates. Glancing at his tactical display, Su Hang assessed the battlefield. The vanguard had already crushed the blockade at Gate 6. Right now, Allied forces were holding the grain depot, surrounded by the tragic remains of fallen workers. The surviving civilians had been evacuated to the dorms, forming a desperate final defensive perimeter. Tactical formation engaged. The vehicles arranged into a piercing spearhead formation. 2 heavy armored rovers led the brutal charge straight for the dormitories, laying down suppressive fire against the beast horde. The invaders were identified as venom belly wolves. Terrifying physical strength. The strategy was simple. Aim for the skull, strike with lethal speed, and extract the trapped civilians. Deafening artillery blasts echoed as tank shells rained down. The dark wolves were vaporized like mere insects. But suddenly, a blood-curdling howl pierced the battlefield. An alpha beast was summoning an endless tide of reinforcements. Su Hang's instincts screamed danger. He ordered Little Hu to hit the brakes. That howl carried an unnatural spiritual pressure. Master Xiao Hop once warned that venom belly wolves possessed a rare, terrifying evolution path, the Alpha Lord. The beast tide was intentionally keeping its distance. The Alpha was using military tactics to command the drone wolves. No wonder they so easily crushed the human defensive line. This was an intelligent threat. The Alpha unleashed its innate skill. Wolf smoke, a highly toxic miasma, swallowed the battlefield. It seemed like thermal scopes could pierce the fog. But Su Hang knew this was a deadly trap. Throw it in reverse, now! Su Hang roared his command. But outside the reinforced window, a terrifying nightmare was already unfolding. Shadow wolves ambushed the tactical rovers from the blind spots. Among them lurked an elusive alpha clone, ruthlessly slaughtering prey. It was the deadly shadow clone technique. The true alpha was still hiding in the shadows. But the moment Su Hang deduced its trick, the beast lunged. A foul, blood-soaked stench filled the air as it initiated its ambush. Cracking sounds echoed as it smashed the reinforced glass. Little Hu violently swerved the rover. Old Huang unleashed a storm of bullets, but it was utterly useless against the beast's defensive aura. The Lord of the Shadow Wolves launched a devastating counterattack. Its razor-sharp claws ripped through the armored roof like fragile paper. Seeing the critical danger, Su Hang's eyes narrowed. Time to stop holding back. He summoned his contracted beast, the dragon snake lizard. Only an overpowered beast tamer could handle this level of threat. The dragon snake materialized, instantly erupting with an overwhelming draconic aura. The supreme bloodline suppression paralyzed the shadow wolf. The dragon snake relentlessly followed up with a barrage of dark malice orbs. A cluster of explosive dark energy slammed directly into the beast's skull. In a flash, the little Azure dragon completely obliterated the clone. Su Hang immediately patched into command. Cease all fire to prevent friendly casualties. He was going to hunt down the true Alpha himself. The battlefield commander was no fool. Watching the overwhelming display of power through his binoculars, he instantly recognized Su Hang's terrifying potential. You never question a supreme monster tamer. Permission granted. The commander gladly let the overpowered youth handle the boss-level threat. His squad would lock down the trash mobs, ensuring absolutely nothing interrupted Su Hang's legendary hunt. The battle lines were drawn. Su Hang charged into the fray, flanked by Old Huang and Little Hu. The toxic smoke was incredibly dense, heavily crippling their field of vision. Suddenly, Little Hu screamed for everyone to look. Absolutely terrifying. Through the clearing fog stood a colossal, mutated shadow wolf, viciously tearing into heavy tank armor. It was moments away from slaughtering a helpless guard. Su Hang barked his order. Dragon Snake, use vicious strike. The little Azure dragon moved like lightning, launching a brutal assault. A flawless strike right to the jugular. The massive wolf coughed up black blood and crashed violently to the dirt. But this was a boss monster. The lethal blow only triggered its berserk state, skyrocketing its bloodlust. The rescued guard was frozen in absolute terror. Su Hang silently cursed. Save the gratitude for later, and run for your life, unless you want to become demon bait. Too late. The young guard was brutally impaled straight through the chest. An instant, unpreventable death. The shadow wolf casually flicked its blood-soaked claws, discarding the corpse like trash. Su Hang froze, before a blazing wrath ignited in his eyes. He glared at the rampaging monstrosity. Dragon Snake, execute earth-piercing formation. The spiritual beast violently stomped the ground. A massive shockwave shattered the earth, sending rows of jagged stone spikes erupting toward the Alpha. But the cunning beast instantly activated Shadow Dash to evade. It was trying to escape. Perfect. Exactly as planned. Su-hang commanded his squad to lay down suppressive fire. A relentless hail of bullets from Old Huang and Little Hu forced the beast into a corner. The wolf masterfully dodged the gunfire, but completely forgot about the true apex predator. In a flash of scales, the little Azure dragon clamped its jaws onto the beast's neck. Su-hang had predicted its exact escape route. The dragon snake unleashed its ultimate intimidation aura. Launching into the sky, it channeled pure draconic power into its devastating claws. In a fraction of a second, the Shadow Wolf Lord's head was completely obliterated. A flawless victory. But as the convoy rolled back to base, Su-hang's expression was grim. The brutal reality of the cultivation world was weighing heavily on his mind. Old Huang noticed the young masters brooding over the fallen guard. In this hellish wasteland, death was an everyday companion. If Su-hang had not stepped up, an entire massacre would have taken place today. Rolling up his sleeve, Old Huang revealed a gruesome, massive scar, a permanent reminder of his own first descent into the meat grinder of war. On that cursed day, 50 good men were wiped out in an instant. He recounted how a fully matured, terrifying silver-backed ape had crushed their heavily armored transport like a tin can. Every single comrade inside was reduced to a bloody pulp. The nightmare only ended when the Supreme Commander of the North took action. Lord Cao, Su-hang's very own senior martial brother. With overwhelming supreme power, he alone executed the monstrous ape. Tossing a metal canteen to the young tamer, Old Huang offered a silent nod. "Drink up, kid." It was a grizzled veteran's way of comforting a rising legend, preparing his spirit for the endless battles to come. The echoes of war fade, but the journey to become the ultimate sovereign of beasts has only just begun. Senior brother Lu Lang made a grand entrance. Riding atop a majestic, roaring tiger, he looked absolutely phenomenal. Su-hang could only watch in awe as his martial brother leaped down, his eyes filled with genuine brotherly affection. Lu Lang had already heard the legendary news. Our protagonist had returned victorious from the battlefield, earning special praise and rare treasures from the High Commander. Truly worthy of their master's teachings. It had been exactly 1 month and 2 days since they last met. Finding a rare moment of peace, Lu Lang had rushed over to visit, mostly because he wanted to avoid their strict master's nagging. Hanging out with his junior brother was far more entertaining. Cutting straight to the chase, Lu Lang demanded to see the dragon snake lizard. He wanted to inspect its cultivation progress. Su-hang simply smirked. Without hesitation, he initiated the summoning ritual. The little Azure dragon materialized with an earth-shattering aura. Its majestic presence had multiplied exponentially since their last encounter. Lu Lang's jaw dropped to the floor. No way. How did it evolve this fast? He stared at his junior brother in absolute disbelief. "Is your taming technique at the perfect stage?" he gasped. Su-hang immediately played dumb, waving his hands in denial. Exposing his heaven-defying secrets would only invite deadly trouble. Besides, what was the point of further inspection? Lu Lang was no fool. He could clearly sense the terrifying realm the dragon snake lizard had reached. Any further testing would be an absolute waste of time. Snapping back to reality, he ordered Su-hang to pack his gear immediately. It was time to return to the stronghold. Leaving so soon? The brotherhood between him and Old Huang's squad had grown unbreakable. Hearing the news of his departure, those battle-hardened warriors actually burst into dramatic tears. They simply could not bear to see their comrade leave. Seeing them sob like children, Su-hang flashed a devilish grin. "Since you guys have so much energy to cry, how about a little warm-up sprint with my dragon? I guarantee you will be too exhausted to shed a single tear." The squad froze in sheer panic. Heavens, have mercy on us. But there was no escape. Everyone was forced into a hellish marathon, chased relentlessly by the little Azure dragon. The very next day, inside the Black Vine training chamber, boom! Su-hang finally collapsed under Butler Lin Fu's devastating strike. However, enduring the onslaught for this long was a heaven-defying feat. For an entire month, his cultivation had been relentless. Lin Fu's eyes gleamed with profound respect. The seasoned expert then bowed deeply to the young prodigy. Master Zhou, he proudly declared that he had chosen a peerless disciple. While he might not yet rival his monstrously talented seniors, his ironclad willpower was absolutely unmatched. Zhou He never imagined the boy would conquer the training in just 1 month and pass with flying colors. Su Hang had swallowed unimaginable suffering during this time. Yet, to him, it was merely a breeze. Through grueling martial cultivation, he could feel his strength surging with every passing second. Compared to the 3 agonizing years of failing to hatch a beast egg, this harsh training was practically a blessing. Those days of zero progress and endless mockery were behind him. How could he possibly call this path to power suffering? Furthermore, the dragon snake lizard's breakthrough speed had utterly shattered Master Zhou's wildest predictions. This only cemented the old master's grand scheme for the boy's future. Was he just going to be sent to some boring outer outpost? Absolutely not. He was grooming him for the legendary Continental Duel next month, an epic tournament held only once a year. The ultimate battleground, co-hosted by the 6 great factions. The true prize? A priceless chance to enter the Blood Forest ruins. These ancient ruins were entirely different from ordinary wild domains. They were sealed away by an unfathomable, heaven-sealing barrier. Forcing one's way in was completely impossible. The core of this domain was ruled by a terrifying, prehistoric beast of unimaginable power. The master of this secret realm was a walking calamity. However, unable to withstand the combined wrath of the 6 factions, the sovereign beast was forced into a blood pact. Every year, the realm would open just once, granting entry to exactly 3 chosen beastmasters, a heaven-sent fortune that was incredibly rare. The competition for these slots was fiercely brutal. Su Hang clenched his fists, wondering if his current realm was enough to secure victory. Master Zhou, he simply burst into booming laughter. Rest your heart, my boy. The beast only unlocks the outer perimeter of the ruins. The deepest core remains completely sealed. For a rising star like you, the outer zone is a treasure trove, but to true supreme masters, it holds 0 appeal. Hearing this golden opportunity, Su Hang instantly accepted the challenge. He would not be fighting alone, though 4 others would join him. Zhou He revealed that introductions would happen tomorrow. Immediately after, a hellish special training phase would begin. The destination? The Ash Bear Forest, located deep within the deadly southern wilderness. Past the final southern defense line lay a vast, terrifying woodland. The infamous Ash Bear Forest. It was the undisputed territory of a wild bear clan, boasting horrifying numbers. These behemoths stood over 4 meters tall and weighed several tons. Born without the ability to wield spiritual energy, they technically were not classed as a magical hazard. However, their raw physical evolution and earth-shattering brute strength were catastrophic. This transformed the forest into an absolute death zone. Even seasoned beastmasters trembled at its name, truly living up to its reputation, a place that made grown men weep in despair. A chill ran down Su Hang's spine at the mention of this forbidden zone. A graveyard with no return. Master, are you trying to send me to my doom? The old Mao could have just slapped him to death and saved time. Yet, the master just smirked, telling him to go see for himself. Be a good boy and pack your bags. Returning to his quarters, Su Hang fell into deep thought, staring at the pathetic 2 copper coins in his hand. Before heading to the outpost, he had burned through his entire 2,500,000 allowance. The next payout was still half a month away. To sustain his dragon's heaven-defying growth speed, high-tier resources were absolutely critical. Living paycheck to paycheck was a path to ruin. The young tamer urgently needed to unlock a new wealth stream. Truth be told, beastmasters had countless ways to strike it rich. If one possessed a healing-type companion beast, curing the wounded could rake in mountains of gold. Plant element tamers could cultivate mystical herbs for a fortune, while water and lightning tamers were highly sought after in resource gathering. But with the divine assistance of his 9-Sun Dragon field system, he definitely had a far more overpowered method. Acting on his instinct, he stormed the Black Vine trading market, expecting to easily scavenge some hidden treasures using his system's radar. Yet, after wandering for an entire day, he found absolutely nothing. Was this whole expedition just a massive waste of time? Suddenly, his sharp gaze locked onto a merchant's sign. They were buying black thread extract at a premium price. Su Hang stepped up to investigate. The greedy boss, thinking he had hit the jackpot, eagerly spilled the details. But discovering the boy was just window shopping, the merchant exploded in fury. If you do not have the goods, get lost. Unfazed, Su Hang locked onto the insane pricing listed. 1 milligram of the extract was worth 85 copper coins, meaning 1 gram would fetch a staggering 83,000. Who knew this substance was worth its weight in gold? The 9-Sun Dragon field immediately analyzed the supreme formula. Black octopus ink, dark oak sap, and a catalytic thickener, mixed at a ratio of 3:12. Refined under blistering heat for exactly 75 minutes. That was the secret to creating the perfect black thread extract. Within the black vine territory, these raw materials were as common as dirt. All he needed was to brew the alchemical mixture. His path to absolute wealth was finally clear. Dashing back to his sanctuary, he and his little azure dragon began the refining process. The dragon unleashed its scorching breath, heating the divine crucible. Carefully adding the catalyst, the potion began to stabilize. The premium extract was successfully forged. Among the 13 departments and 5 bureaus of Black Vine, one particular elite faction held supreme authority: the dangerous Bioenergy Research Division. Their sole purpose was dissecting lethal anomalies and harvesting volatile spiritual energy. This core research facility was the ultimate buyer for his precious goods. Supplying them in bulk was his golden ticket, while this trade would surely rake in. Even with a fortune in hand, carrying this much void silk into the market was incredibly dangerous. Our main character knew he had to tread carefully. Exposing his ancient sun dragon realm was absolutely not an option. This rare material grew at an agonizingly slow pace. Lethal parasitic swarms constantly devoured its tender leaves. Harvesters usually risked their lives just to extract a few millimeters. Suddenly dumping a massive haul like this, it would definitely paint a massive target on his back. The most tactical move? Find a desperate buyer, sell far below market value, and vanish into thin air. The target he locked onto was the Crimson Fortune trading post. He swiftly approached the counter, ready to strike a shadowy deal with the female boss. Emptying his pouch, 30 grams of pure void silk cascaded out. 2,500,000 credits. Take it or leave it. Of course she took the deal. The merchant's eyes gleamed with unbearable greed, demanding to know where he found so much. Instantly, a cold blade pressed against her throat. The less you know, the longer you breathe. Snatching the credits, he vanished into the bustling crowd. He could not recklessly spend this sudden wealth right away. The optimal strategy? Enter the inner citadel and purchase high-tier rations for his dragon serpent. The timing was absolutely perfect, as he needed to meet his elite training squad anyway. Meanwhile, at the Grand Stronghold, his so-called teammates had already gathered. Wang Han was ruthlessly trashing our main character's name. He scoffed, claiming our hero was just riding on dumb luck to become Master Zhou. He's supreme disciple. Luo Song eagerly chimed in, desperate to look superior. He mocked that it was just blind dog luck. How could the fortress lord appoint this nobody as their captain? For years, the captain's seat belonged only to absolute prodigies. Luna crossed her arms, questioning what right he had to lead them at all. Amidst the venomous whispers, only Lin Han remained utterly unfazed. She fired back at the toxic crowd, asking if they truly dared to question Master Zhou. His divine judgment. She had witnessed our hero's terrifying potential firsthand. Stabbing him in the back like this was crossing the line. Furthermore, she reminded the arrogant group of a harsh reality. He possessed an absolute supreme-grade beast. These arrogant fools could not even tame a fraction of that power. So why act so tough? Right on cue, the head butler escorted our hero into the grand hall. After delivering the mission briefing, the butler took his leave, letting the squad sort out their own hierarchy. Wang Han instantly launched into another pathetic barrage of insults. Luna sneered, calling him a pathetic beast tamer, who only possessed a single companion. Su Hang remained dead silent. Was this the elite squad's attitude? How utterly disappointing. Sensing the explosive tension, Lin Han gracefully stepped forward to break the ice. She politely introduced herself, flashing a warm, enchanting smile. Finally, at least one out of these 4 was not utterly brain-dead. Our hero offered a courteous nod, firmly shaking her hand in return. Luo Song seethed with miserable jealousy, trying to preach some garbage philosophy about the strong ruling the weak. Our main character instantly obliterated his logic, making his blood boil with sheer fury. Honestly, the dragon serpent alone could slaughter this clown's entire lineage. Just accept reality, you weakling. Yet this childish fool actually demanded a duel to prove his rank. Aura flared as he violently summoned his crimson-scaled beast. An orange-scaled monstrosity materialized with a deafening roar. Did he think this was scary? A normal beast might struggle, but our hero harbored the ancient sun dragon realm. Why fear a pathetic, overgrown lizard? If he did not crush it with raw physical force, he could drown it in pure, overwhelming aura. He smirked, mocking the fool for lacking any lethal tier insect variants. Are you really this weak, little man? Luna, realizing they were playing with fire, desperately stepped in to stop Luo Song's suicidal provocation. Our main character was not even trying. Plus, unauthorized beast summoning would invite the guard's execution squad. Gritting his teeth, Luo Song recalled his pathetic beast, swearing that our hero better not cross his path in the upcoming martial tournament. As if our mighty tamer gave a single damn about his threats. They lacked even the most basic concept of teamwork, throwing away the sanctuary's honor for petty grudges. This pathetic excuse for an army. He would be better off hunting entirely alone in the wild. Without another word, Su Hang turned his back and walked away, leaving Luo Song choking on his own toxic rage. The fool secretly vowed to make our hero pay dearly when the time came. According to the master's grand design, he was scheduled to conquer the colossal bear forest tomorrow. He realized something. These rebellious teammates were clearly a hidden trial set by his wise master. He would exploit the brutal training in the colossal bear forest. Once he returned victorious from the bloodbath, he would claim the captain's throne with absolute, undeniable authority. The golden dawn of the next day arrived in a flash. Right outside Su Hang's residence, an elite guard unit knocked heavily on his door, tasked with escorting him to the deadly forest. Captain Zhang was granted entry, radiating intense military discipline. Together, they intensely analyzed the sprawling topographical map. Captain Zhang pinpointed the lethal choke points. Maoding Outpost was their designated target for this grueling expedition. The sheer distance spanned less than 150 kilometers, yet the journey was paved with unimaginable horrors. Feral, corrupted insect swarms infested the ancient trails. They calculated a brutal 2 to 3 days of relentless travel, just to reach the border zone. Captain Zhang locked eyes with him, asking if he had any final doubts. The engine roared. As the armored transport deployed, Su Hang memorized the terrifying geography of the wasteland. Maoding Outpost was a colossal territory, littered with dozens of scattered strongholds. The remaining subbases were equally dangerous and chaotic. As the sun set, the armored convoy locked down at the Zhuangnan settlement. For tonight, this fortified fortress would serve as their temporary sanctuary. The communication line flared to life. Mayor Andalou of Zhuangnan swiftly answered the incoming encrypted transmission from the guards. After verifying their military credentials, they requested emergency shelter protocols. The clearance code was given. Massive mechanical gears groaned heavily as the towering iron gates were slowly raised to the heavens. The entire defensive garrison of Zhuangnan marched out to welcome their elite guests. Captain Zhang respectfully requested temporary lodging, and Mayor Andalou, radiating warm hospitality, instantly granted them full VIP access. He graciously invited the esteemed warriors inside the defensive walls. After efficiently transferring the supply crates to Su Hang, Captain Zhang casually pulled a young subordinate forward from the ranks. He introduced his most trusted elite soldier. The young man's name was Chen Han. Su Hang gave a stoic nod of approval. Moments later, a blinding light erupted as he summoned his mighty Azure dragon. The majestic, towering serpentine beast materialized with terrifying pressure. It had been starved of a proper meal for far too long. Now, it was time to devour pure cultivation energy. Eat up, my glorious beast. Captain Zhang and Chen Han recoiled in sheer terror, their minds completely shattered. Was this genuinely his contracted beast? Their jaws dropped as they stared at his casual dominance over such a monster. This was a mythical Azure dragon. Was it really about to swallow an entire military-grade crate? In one blinding motion, the beast shattered their perception of reality. The spiritual seals snapped wide open. The Azure dragon unhinged its massive jaws, sucking the entire payload of profound energy into the abyss of its stomach. Captain Zhang and Chen Han stood completely paralyzed. This legendary creature was casually looking down on them. Chen Han, still possessing the reckless energy of youth, had clearly been forced into military service by his strict parents. He dared to suggest a trip to a shady nightclub. Our main character instantly shot that mortal nonsense down. Who had time for earthly pleasures when absolute power awaited? All he needed was a competent local guide to scout the terrain. A soft knock echoed. A purple-haired girl, clutching dried spirit tubers, stepped into the room. She bravely looked up, asking if the powerful senior was in need of a pathfinder. Flustered, she immediately apologized, explaining her grandfather had sent her to deliver local delicacies to the esteemed guests. But she had accidentally overheard their entire conversation. Chen Han eagerly vouched for the girl's identity, assuring our hero that she was the absolute perfect candidate for a wilderness guide. Su Hang smiled faintly, nodding in agreement to her proposal. The architecture in this secluded domain was vastly different from the dark citadel. Geometric shapes defied normal physics, creating a dizzying spatial illusion. The dark brown spirit tiles pulsed with ancient energy. The little girl, Anna, excitedly explained the origins of these profound structures. Hundreds of these ancient manors clung desperately to the steep cliffs of Zhuangnan. In the distance, Anna pointed toward the ancient southern manor. Once a grand town hall, it was now the epicenter of underground beast fighting. She turned to our protagonist, asking if he wanted to witness the bloodshed tonight. The premise was absolutely brutal. Local cultivators would capture untamed demonic beasts and throw them into the fighting pits for raw entertainment. It was a ruthless marketing scheme. If a beast perished in the arena, its valuable remains would be divided among the townsfolk. But tonight was no ordinary slaughter. A mysterious, unidentified creature was scheduled to face a savage wild tiger. This bloodbath was guaranteed to draw a massive crowd. Su Hong did not answer immediately. He knew the wild tiger possessed a violently fierce bloodline and unparalleled combat instincts. Watching such a ferocious predator fight to the death would be the perfect combat tutorial for his newly tamed dragon snake lizard. With a confident nod, he accepted the invitation. The ticket vendor, an older woman, handed them 2 passes and immediately teased Anna about bringing her handsome new boyfriend. This gossiping auntie was named Barena, a woman who thrived on local drama. Anna planted her hands on her hips, furiously declaring that Su Hong was a highly respected VIP visiting all the way from the prestigious Black Fort City. Su Hang facepalmed, letting out a heavy sigh at the unwanted attention. Yet, guided by this fiery little girl, doors magically opened for them everywhere. For someone so young, Anna commanded absolute respect in this territory. A middle-aged supervisor named Jack hurried over, wiping sweat from his brow. He nervously asked why the young miss had suddenly arrived and why she demanded the ultimate VIP seats for her guest. Jack narrowed his eyes, finally noticing the Beastmaster emblem resting on Su Hang. A cold shiver ran down his spine. This was an existence he absolutely could not offend. He immediately bowed at a sharp 90-degree angle. "Welcome to the Grand Changnam Arena." The announcer's piercing voice echoed through the Colosseum. The main event was about to begin. She dramatically pointed toward the massive iron cage on the left, revealing a terrifying wild tiger. Measuring over 3 meters long and weighing a massive 300 kilograms, its killing intent was suffocating. Rumor had it, this infamous alpha predator was captured by Changnam's most legendary hunter, earning the fearsome title of Asset. Deafening cheers shook the stadium. The announcer then lowered her voice, admitting that tonight's challenger was the most bizarre spiritual beast she had ever witnessed. A rusted iron cage was violently tossed into the arena. The heavy lid burst open. Instead of a fearsome monster, out rolled a tiny, squishy yellow furball. It looked like a bizarre golden koala, or perhaps a living cheese puff. The moment this pathetic creature locked eyes with the towering tiger, it completely lost its mind. It tucked its tiny tail and desperately tried to flee. The poor thing panicked so hard it tripped over its own feet, rolling comically across the blood-stained floor. The entire stadium erupted into roaring laughter, mocking the helpless creature. But Su Hang's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. Could it really be that legendary existence? He thought, his heart pounding. The iron gates fully raised, and the colossal tiger launched itself at the trembling golden furball. Despite shaking like a leaf in a hurricane, the tiny creature vanished into thin air. Its reaction speed was absolute perfection, teleporting out of harm's way in a fraction of a second. The apex predator, enraged by missing its prey, unleashed a deafening, earth-shattering roar. The golden furball shivered uncontrollably, yet it continued to effortlessly dodge every lethal strike. The mocking laughter in the stands died down, replaced by stunned murmurs. What kind of demonic beast possessed such godly evasion skills? Su Hang's mind raced back to the ancient texts of the old Sun Dragon record. Among the millions of dangerous beasts, there existed 4 supremely rare elemental bloodlines. These creatures only existed in mythical lore, revered by ancient cultivators as the 4 divine systems. They were known as the Secret System, the Miracle System, the Relic System, and the Mythological System. Such terrifying speed and spatial awareness could never belong to a low-tier beast. Adding the glowing golden sigil on its forehead and its hypersensitive physical traits, Su Hang came to a groundbreaking conclusion. This pathetic-looking creature was actually one of the 4 legendary systems. It was an ultra-rare treasure-seeking beast. Classified as a high-danger entity, it paradoxically possessed absolutely zero combat power. Instead, it held the ultimate divine ability of the secret system, the innate power to sense and consume heavenly treasures. It usually only appeared within ancient ruins or hidden realms. Su Hang clenched his fists. He absolutely had to claim this mythical prize. He leaned in and whispered to Anna, "I need to buy that little beast immediately." But fate was playing a cruel joke. The registered owner was none other than Supervisor Jack, meaning Su Hang had to negotiate directly. Things were not looking optimistic. Anna practically begged the older man, using every ounce of her charm, but Jack stubbornly dodged the request. He stubbornly refused to hand over ownership. Jack used the sacred arena rules as his ultimate shield. This was not a matter of mortal wealth. No amount of gold coins or spirit stones could buy the beast. Even in the previous generation, his own father never dared to break this absolute taboo. Su Hang understood the underlying politics. Jack was terrified of the massive betting pool and the ticket revenues collapsing. Jack also eyed Su Hang with deep suspicion, wondering why a powerful beastmaster desperately wanted a useless coward of a beast. But a supreme overpowered protagonist always has a backup plan. Su Hang boldly proposed an alternative solution, gambling on whether Jack had the guts to accept. After a tense moment of silence, Jack's booming voice echoed through the speaker system, officially suspending the current match. The audience instantly exploded into a violent riot. To suppress their bloodlust, Jack immediately offered a triple refund on all tickets and promised to return every single bet. To compensate for the interruption, he announced a spectacular new main event. A brand new challenger would step into the blood-soaked arena. Su Hang himself. It would be an unprecedented battle. Man versus demonic beast. The concept was so insanely arrogant that the crowd instantly forgot their anger, screaming in absolute frenzy. The monstrous tiger was released from its chains once more. Up in the VIP stands, Anna cheered her lungs out for her hero. Su Hang stood completely unfazed in the center of the killing intent. He casually raised his right hand and initiated a high-tier summoning circle. "Come out, my little battle companion. Dragon Snake Lizard. It is time for a slaughter." The moment the majestic dragon snake lizard materialized, the roaring tiger instantly choked on its own breath. The entire Colosseum erupted into absolute madness. He is a legendary beastmaster, and he commands a dangerous class spirit beast. Supervisor Jack slumped against the glass window, his face pale with lingering terror. He thanked the heavens he had been perfectly polite earlier. He was also internally celebrating Anna's terrifying ability to casually befriend absolute monsters. Su Hang's eyes locked onto the paralyzed tiger. He coldly commanded his dragon snake lizard to unleash the ancient dragon aura. An invisible pressure of absolute dominance crushed the arena. The supreme dragon roar echoed. The previously bloodthirsty apex predator instantly turned into a pathetic, whimpering kitten. It collapsed onto its knees, covering its head with its front paws, practically weeping and begging for mercy from the supreme bloodline. Suddenly, Su Hang and his little green dragon snapped their heads to the side. The legendary golden furball was taking advantage of the chaos, sprinting away with its tiny legs moving like a blur. Its spatial reaction speed was truly terrifying, worthy of a mythical creature. Su Hang immediately issued a spiritual command. "Use evil assault. Hunt it down and do not let it escape." Even with the assault skill, the dragon snake lizard was lagging behind. Evolution Stage 2. Activate. Su Hang commanded coldly. A surge of immense power skyrocketed the green dragon's speed, allowing it to finally close the gap. Two razor-sharp claws lunged at the target, but the golden furball miraculously dodged its 83rd heavenly tribulation. However, Su Hang's trap was already set. Dragon Aura Stage 2. Intimidation was instantly deployed. A terrifying cyclone of purple spiritual energy erupted, carrying apocalyptic destructive power. The spectators in the stands lost their minds, suffering severe psychological trauma from witnessing such god-tier power. The golden furball burst into desperate tears. The spatial pressure froze the tiny creature completely solid. It was game over. The dragon snake lizard easily snatched it by the scruff of its neck. Escape was now entirely impossible. The mythical beast could only squeak helplessly in total defeat. The legendary arena battle concluded with overwhelming dominance. Later, inside the luxurious management office, Jack aggressively kissed up to the overpowered beastmaster. Su Hang, however, only had one burning question. How did a mythical beast with such godly evasion ever get captured by mortals? Jack burst into a roaring fit of laughter. He revealed that this greedy little treasure hunter had raided the city's royal wine cellar, destroying countless jars of priceless tribute liquor. The city guards had hunted it for 7 days and 7 nights. Eventually, the legendary beast got so unbelievably drunk off the celestial wine that it passed out inside a massive liquor jar. And that hilariously stupid mistake was how it lost its freedom. You really test my patience, little one. With everything finally settled, Su-hang turned to thank Anna. Her enthusiastic help had been a lifesaver. The young girl was truly both kind-hearted and incredibly endearing. He swore to have Zhao Han bring her some rare novelties from Black Fortress City next time. Returning to his quarters, sleep was the last thing on his mind. He stared at the trembling little treasure, letting out a heavy sigh of disappointment. Do I look like a monster that eats spirit beasts? If he had not descended like a saving god, this pathetic creature would have already crossed the river of souls. It was too weak to even shatter an ordinary iron cage. Out in the wild, demonic beasts would have devoured it instantly. This so-called treasure-hunting beast seemed completely useless in battle. Its only worth was finding loot, or acting as a fluffy stress reliever. The next step was formulating a cultivation plan, but a massive problem arose: how to raise it. Even the legendary Nine Suns Dragon Tome lacked dietary records. Whatever, I will just starve it for a few days. When hunger strikes, even plain dirt tastes like heaven. He smirked at his own brilliant strategy. I am an absolute genius. Suddenly, his beast tamer ring pulsed with a brilliant light. He had completely forgotten his Azure Dragon Lizard's midnight snack. Su-hang immediately rushed over to dig through the massive supply crates of premium spirit meat. With a heavy grunt, he hauled the massive load out. He dumped the high-grade cultivation food into a giant trough, completely oblivious to the sparkling, teary eyes of little Maju. The tiny beast was practically drooling waterfalls. This meal was 3 times the normal portion. Su-hang summoned his Azure Dragon Lizard. Chow time, buddy. But seeing the tiny dragon's ravenous excitement made his wallet ache. After this feast, you are fasting for a week. Meanwhile, little Maju's face twisted in pure agony, desperate for just one bite. The poor little creature was clearly starving to death. Sensing its pathetic aura, Su-hang chuckled. You want some of this draconic meat? He scooped up a tiny spoonful, teasing the little beast. It sniffed cautiously for a second, then swallowed it in a single gulp. Su-hang was utterly shocked. It actually loved the dragon-grade cultivation food. Oh no. A brotherhood destroyed over a single meal. In the blink of an eye, the Azure Dragon devoured the entire trough, leaving absolutely nothing. Little Maju whimpered, craving more of that spiritual energy. You are too small. We need to split your meals. But turning back, he saw his dragon burping. You gluttonous, bottomless pit, Su-hang scolded the majestic beast. From now on, you go on a strict diet. Maju is still in its infant stage. As the older brother, you must share your cultivation resources, but his dragon just tilted its head in pure defiance. Unbelievable. Stealing food from a baby. You need a good smacking. The next morning dawned with a golden light. Su-hang bid farewell to Anna, setting his sights on Ironforge Town. Compared to the southern outposts, this mid-tier territory was overwhelmingly massive. The sprawling settlement boasted a titanic refining factory. It was the absolute core for forging steel, bronze, and mystical alloys. However, according to Captain Zhang's grim warnings, Ironforge Town and the Titan Bear Forest hid a terrifying secret. Bound by strict military discipline, the captain could not reveal the truth. He simply told Su-hang he would witness it himself upon arrival. Stepping into the town, the suffocating aura of industrial smoke hit him instantly. The scent of refined mystical coal saturated the very air. Captain Zhang led him straight to the central governing hall. That was when the horrific truth finally struck him. The unspeakable secret? Thousands of ordinary citizens were trapped here, guarded by an elite force of 150, heavily armed cultivators. Though it appeared as an independent sanctuary, it was actually a slave vassal to the Black Lantern faction. Their sole purpose? Supplying rare spiritual metals and harvested minerals extracted from the perilous Titan Bear Forest. Normal humans stood zero chance of surviving the harvest. But the true shock hit Su-hang like a thunderbolt. The entire Titan Bear Forest was the personal territory of his very own Master Zhou. To be exact, it was the hunting ground of a single beast commanded by his legendary teacher. His master could manipulate the entire horde of demonic bears using only one supreme summoned creature. Su-hang had always worshipped his master's strength. Yet, the sheer, horrifying reality of his power shattered Su-hang's wildest imagination. According to the Managing Council's records, the forest was currently guarded by 4 colossal beasts. The strongest belonged to a master tamer from the Black Lantern faction. The remaining 3 guardians were all commanded by elite tamers or higher. Su-hang locked himself in his room. The Black Lanterns might offer immense wealth, but to a true beast tamer, an ancient, mutating beast was vastly superior to any worldly fortune. He intensely analyzed little Maju's aura. The ultimate way to flex his dominance in this world was to forge a soul pact with a supreme-grade monster. Su-hang extended his spiritual energy, asking the little beast, "Do you wish to conquer the heavens by my side?" Instead of a fierce roar, its stomach simply grumbled in pathetic hunger. Completely speechless, Su-hang surrendered. Fine. Food first, world domination later. Suddenly, the Azure dragon lizard heard the word food and threw a massive tantrum. His spiritual veins throbbed with annoyance. "Behave, or I will seal your stomach with a cultivation array." Having investigated the 4 elite tamers, he had planned to storm the Titan Bear Forest immediately. Yet, a twist of fate trapped him in Ironforge Town for 3 whole days. His primary goal? Forging a supreme psychic link with Little Maju. Achieving that would grant him absolute control over the treasure beast. But establishing a soul domain was viciously difficult. Little Maju's spiritual core fiercely rejected his aura. With the 9 Suns Dragon Tome offering 0 guidance, Su-hang decided to try a dangerously reckless experiment. He took it into the streets to hunt for legendary artifacts. Reality, however, slapped him in the face. This so-called divine beast was a lazy, gluttonous bum. It spent hours just chasing glowing butterflies. For an infant spirit beast, to lack any martial ambition was a total disaster. "If I knew you were this useless, I would have fed you to my dragon." Hearing the terrifying threat, the tiny beast froze in sheer panic. Its survival instincts awakened, and it darted into action. It aggressively pointed its paw at a dimly lit tavern. Su-hang felt a vein pop in his forehead. "Are you kidding me right now? My heavenly patience is running dry, you little rat." Yet, sensing the absolute certainty in its spiritual aura, Su-hang forced himself to trust his familiar one last time. This better be a heaven-defying treasure. He stepped into the chaotic establishment, pretending to be a casual wanderer. There, a mysterious pitch-black boulder sat unnoticed. Suddenly, his spiritual vision flared wildly. Su-hang's eyes widened in absolute disbelief. Could this be the legendary Morphic Origin Stone? The very same divine material recorded in the 9 Suns Dragon Tome. The Morphic Origin Stone, the most critical evolutionary catalyst required for a beast to undergo dragonification. He never dreamed of stumbling upon such a heaven-shaking artifact. Tears of pure exhilaration threatened to fall from his eyes. He aggressively rubbed Little Maju's head in supreme approval. Just as the hype reached its absolute peak, an arrogant bartender shattered the atmosphere. "Are you a paying customer, or are you looking for death?" Su-hang cut straight to the chase. "Name your price for this black stone. I am taking it." The bartender froze, completely caught off guard. "This worthless rock? It is merely a decorative prop for the tavern's aesthetic. Selling it would ruin the chaotic vibe of my establishment." The man poured a cheap drink, heavily hinting for Su-hang to scram. "Besides, a peasant like you could never afford it." A deadly smirk crept onto Su-hang's face. "Looking down on my wealth, are we? Speak the number. I will crush you with it." The arrogant fool laughed, demanding a ridiculous 10,000 spiritual diamonds. "Produce that amount, and the stone is yours. Money is the one thing I have an endless ocean of." Without blinking, Su-hang slammed a mountain of pure gold onto the counter. "Deal. We are done here." The surrounding thugs instantly realized they had offended a monstrous hidden expert. His financial backing was unfathomable. Su-hang stood tall, radiating an overwhelming aura of dominance. "Keep the change, but in exchange for my generosity, you worthless grunts will deliver this directly to my quarters. Specifically, the Central Managing Council's fortress." As he raised his hand to issue the command, his legendary beast tamer ring flashed brilliantly in the dim light. The overwhelming sight sent the bartender's soul flying out of his body. He had been blind as a bat, insulting a noble cultivator. Instantly, the thugs dropped to their knees, smashing their foreheads against the floorboards. They begged for mercy, swearing on their bloodlines that the divine stone would be delivered without a single microscopic scratch. Sweating bullets, they stuttered that the price was actually just one single coin. Looking down at the groveling trash, Su-hang delivered a bone-chilling lecture on greed. Seeing them beg for their lives, he withdrew his aura and let them go. In the path of a beast tamer, there are only two ways to forge a rapid soul contract. First, a supreme master forcefully dominates a lower realm beast. Second, the beast willingly surrenders its spirit. Little Maru firmly belonged to the second category. To secure this contract, our main character spent 3 exhausting days in Willowtown. He became a glorified nanny, taking the creature on treasure hunts and stuffing it with heavenly delicacies. He even told it bedtime stories. But the investment paid off. With Maru's treasure hunting instincts, secret ruins were laid bare. Now, the little beast looked at him like a descended god, practically begging for a soul bond. Truly, the fastest way to a beast's loyalty is through its stomach. However, he could not let the creature become soft and dependent. It was time for a brutal awakening. He dragged little Maru to the courtyard for a hellish agility training session. And the sparring partner? None other than his supreme bloodline companion, the dragon snake lizard. Fighting like cats and dogs, this fierce rivalry was the perfect cultivation method. The ancient dragon hybrid was out for blood, darting forward like a lightning bolt. Despite its desperate scrambling, Maru was easily snatched up by the Azure dragon. This was all part of Su Hang's grand scheme. Push the little beast to the brink of despair, and then step in like a glorious, heaven-sent savior. What an absolute master of manipulation. He even had the nerve to spout profound philosophy about the harsh realities of the martial world. Meanwhile, the little Azure dragon shed inner tears. He literally ordered me to bully him. The result? Little Maru was moved to tears, swearing eternal loyalty to Su Hang. And just like that, his cunning plan to kidnap a spiritual child was a flawless victory. The convoy eventually halted just outside the Grey Bear Forest, right at the river's edge. Captain Zhang and Zhao Han stepped down with Su Hang. From here on out, the perilous journey was his alone to walk. They mentioned a guide was coming to escort him across the waters. Su Hang thanked his martial brothers, when suddenly, the earth trembled. Heavy, blazing footsteps echoed through the air. A magnificent crimson flame tiger burst onto the scene. Riding atop its back was the guardian tamer of the Grey Bear Forest, Senior Sister Black Chrysanthemum. Zhang and Zhao immediately offered deep, respectful bows. Su Hang just offered a casual wave. Hello there, gorgeous. This senior sister was an absolute goddess. With those mountain-like assets, she was definitely a kind-hearted senior. She had already heard the legends of our overpowered main character, expecting him to arrive days ago. After Su Hang made up a quick excuse about his delay, she cut straight to the chase and dismissed his escorts. Next, she summoned her secondary spiritual beast. A massive silver-backed ape materialized. Its aura was incredibly dense, definitely cultivated to the absolute perfect stage. Even Su Hang could not fathom its true combat power. She commanded the mighty ape to carry Su Hang's heavy luggage back to the military encampment. Once the beast grabbed the gear from the transport vehicle, Black Chrysanthemum perched proudly on her blazing tiger. She flashed a teasing smile, offering the main character a ride with her back to base. Walking this treacherous path on foot would snap a normal cultivator's legs, but our arrogant hero declined. My dragon lizard is all I need. With a flash of spiritual light, the little Azure dragon descended from the heavens. The senior sister's eyes went wide with sheer shock, as expected of the master's prized junior disciple. His very first beast was a peak-level disaster-class existence. Regaining her composure, she challenged him to prove his worth. Riding her tiger and flanked by her giant ape, she dashed away, shouting back, "Having a rare bloodline and surviving real combat are two entirely different things, little brother." Su Hang immediately mounted his dragon, but suddenly, the little Azure dragon let out a cold, arrogant snort. A wild gleam flashed in its reptilian eyes. Before Su Hang could brace himself, ancient energy exploded. The beast shot forward like a meteor. "Slow down. Never use a movement skill while I am riding." Thanks to that terrifying burst of speed, they arrived at the stronghold in the blink of an eye. Black Chrysanthemum shouted for the gatekeeper, but met only dead silence. Her fiery temper flared, and she began smashing the steel doors with monstrous strength. Finally, a young man popped his head out. Yawning lazily, he whined, "Sister Chrysanthemum, could you be a little more gentle? You are about to shatter the reinforced iron gates. Please bring your jade key next time." He complained about being too busy to open doors. The fiery senior sister snapped back. "Busy doing what? Cultivating your sleep cycle? You are supposed to be guarding Willowtown while the boss is away." The curly-haired youth scratched his head, stammering, "It is a misunderstanding. Opening the gates for the great Lady Chrysanthemum is my highest honor." Too annoyed to argue, she pointed at Su Hang. She ordered the lazy guard to arrange a room and carry the junior brother's luggage. Su Hang watched this chaotic exchange, completely fascinated by the bizarre ecosystem of this military outpost. She explained that only she and Snow Rain were currently manning the fort. The ordinary soldiers could not handle the oppressive spiritual pressure of the Grey Bear Forest, so they all fled. Even mundane chores were left to their tamed beasts. The commander of the camp had ventured deep into the desolate wastelands days ago to hunt down a mutated disaster-class threat. There was another elite tamer named Lin Zhen. He was supposed to wait and guide Su Hang's hellish training, but since our main character was several days late, Lin Zhen had already entered the forest alone. Su Hang scratched his head, making a weak excuse about being tied up with business. Shrugging it off, senior sister Chrysanthemum beckoned him into her private quarters for a chat. Wait, her private room? Things are getting spicy, he thought. But the moment he stepped inside, the romantic illusion shattered. The walls were completely covered in mounted dragon skulls. Seeing Su Hang frozen in pure shock, she smirked and asked why he looked so dumbfounded. He nervously replied that her interior design choices were certainly uniquely aggressive. Leaning in with a wicked smile, she teased him. Did he think this was a romantic inn? Was he hoping for some forbidden dual cultivation with his beautiful senior sister? Our usually calm main character panicked, waving his hands frantically and denying everything. Laughing at his innocence, she finally dropped the act to discuss the real purpose of his visit. She realized he was clueless about the Grey Bear Forest's true trial. It was an unwritten rule of the Black Iron Castle. Initiates only learned the secret training protocol upon arriving at the death camp. This forest was not just a slaughterhouse for combat experience. It held absolute supreme treasures. She looked him dead in the eye and asked, "Have you ever heard of spiritual energy fruits?" Su Hang gasped. Did this wasteland actually birth natural treasures? She confirmed it. The forest produced a stable supply of bear power fruits, highly coveted by the Black Iron Castle. These heavenly fruits massively boosted physical strength and endurance. For demonic beasts, feral types, or pure strength builds, consuming one was like ascending to a new realm, but snatching them was a dance with death. Pulling back a curtain, she revealed a tactical map. Every single fruit-bearing tree was fiercely guarded by a territorial gray bear. To claim a prize, a tamer needed a challenge token from the bear chieftain. Presenting this token forced a tree's guardian into an honorable duel. They would never refuse a sacred challenge. Emerge victorious, and the bear power fruit was yours. But if an outsider dared to steal a fruit without the castle's blessing, the entire bear clan would hunt them to the ends of the earth. It would be an endless bloodbath until one side was completely annihilated. Fast forward to the deep woods. Deafening roars shattered the peaceful silence of the forest. The little azure dragon floated in midair, locking eyes with a mountainous gray bear. Perched high in the canopy, Su Hang calmly observed the clash, standing beside the heavily armored elite. Lin Zhen. It seemed this armored bear had finally accepted the challenge. If his dragon serpent lizard could secure the victory, the legendary bear strength fruit would be theirs. But our main character, Su Hang, knew cultivation was never that simple. Senior brother Lin Zhen broke the silence. He explained that this armored bear only accepted duels from opponents it deemed weaker. In the brutal laws of the beast realm, claiming the bear's strength fruit meant dancing on the very edge of death. Down in the arena, the massive beast unleashed its bear roar skill. A devastating shockwave blasted toward the dragon lizard. Yet, our little green dragon didn't even flinch. Instead, it flashed a look of absolute mockery. It was the kind of smug, punchable expression that practically begged for a beating. The towering bear erupted into a blazing fury. Watching from above, Su Hang was genuinely speechless. Who knew his dragon possessed the innate talent of supreme trash-talking? The challenge was officially on. Lin Zhen nodded, stating the obvious. The dragon lizard lacked experience fighting pure beast-type monsters. This clash of auras would put it at a severe disadvantage. In the next breath, both spiritual beasts charged forward, ready to trade some absolutely brutal physical blows. Little green dragon channeled its innate dragon force, surging forward like a devastating hurricane. Fist met massive paw in a ground-shattering collision, but when it came to sheer physical mass, our little green dragon was simply out of its weight class. In the blink of an eye, the colossal bear seized the absolute upper hand. With a monstrous swipe, it sent the dragon crashing violently into a massive, ancient tree. The little dragon slammed into the dirt, totally dazed. Before it could even gather its chi to stand, The giant bear lunged forward with terrifying speed, like a ruthless predator spotting absolute prey. Seeing this critical moment, Senior Lin Zhen panicked. Was this the end of the line? Not a chance. Su Hang remained as calm as an ancient mountain. He simply told his senior brother to watch closely. His dragon hadn't even unleashed its true power. Suddenly, Little Green Dragon erupted with absolute dragon majesty. The pure draconic aura struck directly into the bear's soul, plunging it into momentary, paralyzing fear. By the time the massive beast shook off the terror and charged with blazing wrath, the little dragon had already moved. It dashed with lightning speed, soaring high into the sky. Suspended in midair, it condensed pure martial chi into its claws. The surging spiritual energy enveloped its entire body. Empowered by its ancestral dragon force, it entered a state of supreme, overwhelming combat readiness. Without a single second of hesitation, it plummeted like a falling meteor, sinking its draconic claws straight into the beast's shoulder. Witnessing this flawless execution, Lin Zhen gasped in pure awe. Su Hang's dragon lizard was an absolute monster. To seamlessly chain martial skills together in midair was a talent rarer than phoenix feathers. But to shatter the absolute defense of an armored bear, this strike still lacked that deadly finishing power, just as expected from the legendary defensive limits of a pure beast-type spiritual monster. The physical toughness was absolutely terrifying. This was the profound result of consuming the bear strength fruit. If the dragon lizard could snatch this victory, that supreme cultivation resource would be theirs. High up in the branches, Su Hang was acting like a total fanatic. Cupping his hands like a megaphone, he screamed at the top of his lungs. "Break its limits, Little Green Dragon. Win this, and your master will treat you to a heavenly feast." Down below, taking a direct claw strike from a mere youngster, had driven the giant bear absolutely insane. It instantly activated its beast self-healing art. With eyes burning like literal hellfire, it glared at the little dragon, ready to swallow it whole. But the arrogant little green dragon felt zero fear. Instead, it opened its draconic jaws and condensed absolute darkness. Activating its malice breath and dark bullet arts, it forged a sphere of concentrated destructive energy. It blasted the beast like a legendary energy bomb. The devastating impact sent shockwaves through the entire forest, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. But incredibly, the colossal bear emerged completely unscathed. Flexing its supreme brute strength, it ripped a massive tree trunk straight from the earth and hurled it effortlessly at the little dragon. A barrage of flying timber rained down from the sky, completely sealing off any possible escape routes. Trapped in a prison of shattered wood, Little Green Dragon looked around in absolute shock. Suddenly, a mountain-like shadow eclipsed the sun. The giant bear had teleported right in front of its face. Watching the nightmare unfold, Senior Lin Zhen realized the beast's physical body was expanding. It was the legendary racial talent, Berserker Bear Awakening. This sneaky bastard had been hiding its true power all along. He shouted a warning from the trees. This explosive bodily transformation was an incredibly rare bloodline mutation among armored bears. Once triggered, its strength and spiritual defense multiplied exponentially. At its current cultivation base, the dragon lizard had zero chance against a monster of this caliber. To prevent a tragedy, it was time for the main character to recall his beast. The beast-taming space was the only safe haven now. But Su Hang remained absolutely silent. Through their profound spiritual soul contract, he hadn't felt a single trace of panic from his dragon. He had absolute faith in his spiritual partner's heavenly potential. Down in the crater, the power dynamics were hilariously tragic. It looked like a toddler trying to fistfight a mountain. Just as the dust cleared and visibility dropped to zero, the raging beast materialized out of thin air. It swung a catastrophic claw strike meant to obliterate the little dragon. Operating purely on draconic instinct, Little Green Dragon triggered its second-stage phantom dash. Accelerating beyond the limits of wind itself, it narrowly dodged the executioner's blow. The colossal claws met nothing but empty air, instantly vaporizing the ancient tree behind them into sawdust. Senior Lin Zhen felt his stomach drop. With the bear's awakened physical speed, the dragon lizard couldn't outrun death forever. One single mistake, and its spiritual core would be shattered. The beastly tyrant refused to let its prey escape. Igniting its second-stage feral awakening, it locked onto the dragon and charged like an unstoppable locomotive. But then, doing the completely unexpected, Little Green Dragon slammed on the brakes. It was as if a spark of supreme enlightenment had hit it. Halting its momentum, it channeled pure earth chi to activate the stubborn rock art. The ground erupted in a devastating seismic tremor. Exploding boulders blasted upward, shattering the terrain, and violently snagged the charging beast's massive legs. Stripped of its balance, the colossal bear ate absolute dirt. It violently tumbled forward like an oversized furry bowling ball, crashing headfirst into a towering tree trunk with a sickening thud. Seeing its supreme nemesis faceplant so pathetically, the little dragon erupted into a fit of arrogant, cackling laughter. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Floating above, Senior Lin Zhen was completely dumbfounded. Was this beast seriously lacking brain cells? Su Hang's protagonist luck was absolutely heaven-defying. To encounter such a hilariously low IQ tyrant was a rare miracle. Meanwhile, because the beast's catastrophic crash had shaken the very foundations of the forest, Su Hang nearly fell from his observation branch. Thank the heavens, he had decent reflexes. His current spiritual cultivation simply wasn't high enough to float on empty air like his senior brother. Seeing the coast was clear, Lin Zhen placed 2 fingers to his lips. He released a piercing whistle fueled by spiritual qi. Instantly, his contracted blood-tailed black eagle materialized from the clouds, swooping down to safely deliver Su Hang to the forest floor. Brushing the dust off his robes, it was clear his dragon lizard had unleashed absolute draconic hell today. Not wasting a breath, Lin Zhen summoned his river crown grass. This supreme healing-type spiritual plant instantly rooted into the earth, siphoning pure natural life force to heal the unconscious bear. This wasn't just charity. It was an ironclad rule of the armored bear forest's cultivation trials. After a duel, challengers were forced to heal the defeated beast. Break this sacred law, and you'd face the wrath of the entire terrifying bear clan. Looking at the glowing, healing aura, Su Hang humbly thanked his senior brother for the assist. Slowly, the battered tyrant of the forest began to flutter its eyes open, but the very first thing that registered in its vision were 2 incredibly punchable silhouettes. The dragon and the healing radish were literally pointing at it, and laughing their absolute heads off. The sheer disrespect. Surging with blazing rage, the bear wanted to rip these 2 pests apart. But before its aura could even spike, Senior Lin Zhen stepped in with an overwhelming mountainous presence. The trial by combat was officially concluded. If it dared to throw another punch, the price would be a second bear-strength fruit. Bound by the ancient laws of the forest, the humiliated tyrant choked back its fury. With an expression of pure, soul-crushing defeat, it turned its massive tail and lumbered away. Su Hang blinked in shock. Was it seriously just going to walk off? Where was the legendary loot? Where was the heavenly treasure? As it turned out, the beast was leading them straight to the prize. Following the laws of the victor, Su Hang and his senior trailed the defeated giant deep into the forbidden woods. Soon, the heavy spiritual mist parted to reveal a sacred, glowing sapling. Heavily burdened with countless bear-strength fruits, the towering beast stared longingly at its precious hoard. Reluctantly, it plucked a single, radiant fruit and slammed it down in front of the little dragon. Instantly, little green dragon's eyes lit up, like a mortal who had just discovered literal divinity. Seeing the dragon drool, the bear scoffed. Its smug expression practically screamed, "You absolute peasant! This is nothing to me." Just as the sect records had documented, every alpha of the armored bear clan guarded a heavenly fruit tree at the very core of their territory. This sacred ground was the absolute foundation of their bloodline's power. Proudly, the little dragon carried the glowing prize to its master. Receiving the spiritual treasure, Su Hang weighed it in his palm. Honestly, for a legendary artifact, it was a bit underwhelming in size. He quickly turned to Senior Lin Zhen for the proper cultivation method. Shockingly, there was no complex alchemy required. You literally just had to chew it raw, but there was a heavenly catch. Once detached from the sacred tree, the profound, mysterious qi within would evaporate within minutes. Without a top-tier spiritual storage artifact, immediate consumption was the only path to absolute power. The moment those words hit his ears, our main character didn't waste a single breath. He spun around and ordered his dragon to open wide, but the arrogant little beast suddenly froze, remembering the bear's look of absolute disdain toward this fruit. Its draconic pride flared up into the heavens, lifting its scaly chin high into the air. It shot its master a look of total, unbothered defiance. It turned its snout away, throwing a complete temper tantrum. Su Hang nearly coughed up blood from sheer frustration. "Damn it! You absolute fool! This is supreme cultivation loot." But staring at that unbelievably stubborn face, the master-pet dynamic was about to get seriously complicated. Tears of relief streamed down his face. He turned to senior brother Lin, asking for some water to wash away the disgusting saliva left by that foolish bear. The little Azure dragon, locking its eyes on the prize, watched the fruit get washed clean, then devoured it with pure, unadulterated joy. Senior brother Lin immediately urged him, "You better prepare yourself. The dragon lizard needs to absorb the bear strength fruit right here. The violent energy would soon attract unwanted attention. If we move now, we will waste its precious spiritual energy." Prepare for what exactly? The main character wondered. Without missing a beat, Lin Chen raised his hand, summoning his mighty deer lion and his colossal, rock-steel python. Instantly, a monstrous serpent and a savage, battle-scarred lion materialized with an overwhelming aura. Lin Chen's intention was crystal clear. They were going to stand guard and protect the little Azure dragon. The main character nodded inwardly. Refining a cultivation treasure like the bear strength fruit would definitely take some time. He turned and deeply thanked brother Lin. The senior brother casually waved it off, acting like it was no big deal. "The bear strength fruit decays rapidly," Lin explained. "We could never make it back to camp in time. It must be digested deep within the forest, without powerful tamed beasts standing guard. You would have to cower in a cave or hide inside a hollowed tree. You will get used to this life soon enough." Suddenly, an unnatural phenomenon erupted. The dragon lizard started convulsing. According to brother Lin, the mysterious essence of the fruit was forcibly mutating its cellular structure at an unimaginable speed. This explosive evolutionary process naturally triggered a violent physical reaction. The raw power of the bear strength fruit was notoriously tyrannical. After agonizing moments of transformation, the little Azure dragon finally stabilized. Its muscles bulged with explosive power, radiating an aura of absolute warfare. In the blink of an eye, time flowed like water. 13 days had passed since consuming that first divine fruit. Within these 13 days, the dragon lizard's size had completely skyrocketed. It was already pushing the boundaries of the late growth stage. When it came to pure, raw strength, unyielding endurance, and physical vitality, it completely rivaled a true late-growth dragon lizard. In fact, its power was even more terrifying. After all, during this brief training period, the beast had devoured 8 or 9 bear-strength fruits. The dragon lizard seemingly awakened an absolute talent for pure provocation. It actively hunted and challenged the local bears with such relentless madness that even Lin Chen was left entirely speechless. In just 13 days, it clashed with over 20 savage ash bears to steal their cultivation fruits. Its battle win rate stood perfectly at 50%. Aside from the dumb luck victory on day 1, the real secret behind this high success rate all came down to a single silent hero, the incredible little Manu. Over the past few days, every single opponent the dragon lizard faced was meticulously handpicked by little Manu's scouting skills. Naturally, the genius little creature exclusively targeted the weakest links of the forest. This was the undeniable truth. While Lin Chen's mighty beast struggled to secure just one single fruit, the cunning dragon lizard had effortlessly hoarded 8. Of course, this shameless secret remained completely hidden from Lin Chen. Suddenly, the little Azure dragon let out a sharp cry. Its ancient bloodline resonated. It sensed an elemental talent aura identical to the very first bear they encountered. "Then let us go hunt it down." Without a second thought, the duo dashed toward the dragon's spiritual radar. Disguising themselves flawlessly within the dense foliage, they peeked through the whispering bushes. An absolute bloodbath was unfolding before their eyes. A terrifying, pangolin-like monstrosity was engaged in a brutal deathmatch with an ash bear. This was a dry armor wolf, a notoriously dangerous mid-tier demonic beast, native only to the darkest, subterranean caves. But wait, this was the domain of the ash bear forest. Therefore, this creature had to be a tamed beast. The truth revealed itself instantly. A mysterious masked cultivator was manipulating the beast from the shadows. Sensing his dry armor wolf lacked the necessary lethal force, the dark cultivator summoned a heavy armor wolf to completely obliterate the black ash bear. Shockingly, this was the ultra-rare evolutionary form of the dry armor wolf lineage, an exceptionally dangerous species, boasting practically zero physical weaknesses. Its combat prowess rivaled apex-tier demonic entities. It completely overshadowed the frost tiger they faced before. Without a doubt, this summoned beast had reached its absolute peak maturity. Furthermore, its foundation was nurtured to utter perfection. The main character watched from the shadows, his heart pounding, as he marveled at the wolf's terrifying battlefield dominance. In a fraction of a second, the armored beast executed its killing move. A devastating one-hit execution. With a single, earth-shattering strike, it sent the colossal bear flying into the bloody pond. Holy heavens, what ridiculous power! To achieve victory with such overwhelming brutality, both Su Hang and his little azure dragon dropped their jaws in absolute disbelief. Witnessing this gruesome spectacle, a memory flashed through his mind. Brother Huang once warned him about the Black Lamp Castle, a monstrous faction that had dominated these desolate gray lands for hundreds of years. Naturally, an empire built on blood is forged through endless warfare and massacres. As a result, they had birthed countless deadly rivals. It became chillingly obvious. A formidable enemy faction of the Black Lamp Castle was represented by this very beast tamer, controlling the horrifying armored wolves. These enemies held absolute dominion over the dark cave ecosystems, mirroring exactly how the Black Lamp Castle reigned over the ash bear forest. Their territory just was not as massive as the bear-infested woods. His mind raced with terrifying questions. Why would they risk infiltrating enemy lines just for the bear strength fruits? How could they even survive out here? Even the native rulers had not fully mapped this forbidden zone. Suddenly, the masked assassin made his move. He approached a sacred fruit-bearing tree, retrieved a sinister-looking syringe, and ruthlessly injected an unknown poison directly into the mystical fruits. Absolute disaster. He was corrupting the spiritual treasures. Right at that heart-stopping moment, a demonic scout bird glided straight over the protagonist's hiding spot. Oh, this was bad. Completely, utterly doomed. The masked assassin's aura spiked as he detected their hidden presence. He instantly abandoned his dark sabotage, spitting out a venomous curse. To think a filthy little laboratory rat managed to slip through my net. Murderous intent locked onto the bushes. The enemy possessed a two-stage high-speed strike. But that explosive speed came with a fatal flaw of poor directional control. If you want to play rough, let us play rough. The main character smirked. Go ahead and smash into that giant thicket, you fool. The louder the destructive impact, the better their chances of survival. The noise might just summon senior brother Lin to the rescue. Exactly as he brilliantly calculated, the bloodthirsty wolf accelerated way too fast. Unable to hit the brakes, it crashed violently into a massive ancient tree, shattering the trunk into absolute splinters. In that split second, the masked killer exploded with pure rage, screaming a string of foul curses. With a flick of his spatial ring, a blinding flash erupted. He summoned a lightning aura tiger, a devastating triple-element apex predator ruling over the domain of thunder and light. Moving like a bolt of jagged lightning, the assassin mounted the tiger to resume his deadly hunt. The beast's sheer velocity was completely terrifying. In mere moments, the distance between them vanished. Just as the jaws of death closed around the protagonist, the assassin activated a blinding light speed art. The white tiger launched itself into the sky, channeling catastrophic energy into a lethal paw strike aimed straight at his skull. The little azure dragon reacted on pure instinct. By an absolute miracle, it dodged the execution. But the sheer shockwave grazed its scales, drawing a terrifying line of fresh blood. The main character's blood ran ice cold. This demonic tiger was an extreme-level danger. It had undeniably reached its perfect evolutionary zenith. If this desperate chase continued, even if they were not physically caught, the relentless shockwaves would blast them into absolute ash. Suddenly, a stroke of mad genius hit him. He frantically commanded little Manu, "Hurry! Lead us straight into the domain of the Ash Bear Chieftain." It took the spirit beast less than a single second to pinpoint the ultimate alpha's coordinates. Without hesitating, the main character ignited his aura, dashing wildly toward the suicide path. It was a magnificent, death-defying gambit that forced the lightning tiger to slightly hesitate in its tracks. While sprinting for his life, he roared an order to his dragon. Stop just running blindly. Cast the Earth Spear ritual and wake up the entire bear clan. Without a shadow of doubt, the little azure dragon unleashed a heavens-shaking dragon roar. The very earth beneath their feet violently erupted. Jagged stone spikes shot into the sky, forming an impenetrable barricade to block the masked pursuer. Furious, the assassin commanded his heavy armor wolf to act as a living battering ram, obliterating the boulders to clear a bloody path. The white tiger bounded fiercely through the wreckage. He swore to see exactly where this rat could possibly escape. But alas, arrogance is the ultimate downfall of fools. After covering a short distance, the assassin completely lost the main character's spiritual signature. Boiling with uncontainable wrath, He ordered the lightning tiger to track the scent. But shockingly, the mighty apex predator violently shuddered in pure terror. Its instincts screamed that they had trespassed into the sacred territory of an ancient, absolute monarch. Deep within the gaping abyss of a nearby cave, a pair of blood-drenched eyes pierced the darkness, a murderous glare promising nothing but agonizing death. The arrogant masked man began trembling uncontrollably. "What? What in the heavens is that?" he stammered. In the blink of an eye, emerging from the shadows of the abyss, the undisputed overlord made its terrifying entrance. The true bear chieftain stepped into the light, unleashing a primordial roar that fractured the very heavens. Oh, the nightmare had officially begun. This was the absolute sovereign of the forest. Without wasting a microscopic fraction of a second, the assassin and his tiger turned tail and fled for their pathetic lives. Unaware of the exact gruesome details, the main character and his Azure dragon hid safely behind a ridge, listening to the sweet, chaotic symphony of absolute destruction. He smirked, knowing the bear chieftain would handle the rest. A coordinated beast attack could be triggered at any second. Without the master's protective artifact, survival was a joke. No matter how overpowered the hunter was, wiping out the entire bear pack was completely impossible. This ghost bear forest was a literal death trap. He needed to fall back to the base camp immediately. Finding senior brother Zhue Wu was his only way out. If he wasted another breath, the divine energy of the bear power fruit would evaporate. Knowing this, our protagonist turned on his heels for a strategic retreat. But before he could even dash away, the heavens split open. A devastating blast of energy plummeted straight towards Su Heng. He roared at the top of his lungs. He commanded his dragon snake lizard to dodge. By a single hair's breadth, it evaded the lethal strike. 1 second slower, and his soul would have left his body. As the dust settled, the masked assassin revealed himself, smugly flexing his power. His lightning flash tiger had activated its divine tracking skill. Even if our overpowered main character moved 10 times faster, he could never break the lock. Su Heng instantly recognized this high-tier pursuit technique. The masked assassin grinned with deadly arrogance, leaving the Bear King behind as a roadblock while running to report. A brilliant tactical mind, but he should have known better. A beast tamer at his cultivation level could crush a ghost bear as easily as flipping his palm. He openly mocked our main character for only possessing a single Keelan beast. With a vicious command, he ordered the lightning flash tiger to strike. The beast lunged forward. Suddenly, the thunderous beast slammed on its brakes. The mighty tiger completely froze in midair. The little Azure dragon had unleashed its supreme dragon aura. Su Heng smirked inwardly. He was utilizing the divine illusion talent of his mysterious monkey spirit. It warped reality, tricking the enemy into seeing the dragon snake lizard as a basic local Keelan. The unleashed dragon aura couldn't deal lethal damage, but it bought him the most precious resource: time. Thank the heavens he had invested time into forging those alchemical smoke bombs. This was the perfect moment to deploy them. He hurled the explosive orb straight at the masked killer. Thick, blinding smoke consumed the entire battlefield. "Dragon snake lizard, sever his tail," Su Heng commanded with absolute authority. This was our main character's final window to escape, but the masked cultivator's senses were razor sharp. He instantly saw through the retreat tactic. Scared out of your wits? Then run like a frightened mutt. The lightning flash tiger unleashed its thunder restraint art, closing the distance in a flash. The assassin's brutal strategy was crystal clear. Erase our main character first, then slaughter his beloved spirit beast. Did he think he could just take it? The tree craved peace, but the storm refused to calm. Su Heng's ancient ring pulsed with blinding light. Then I will unleash my level 6 fire mastery. Flame defense art, activate. A blazing shield of spiritual fire erupted instantly. The ferocious impact sent the masked killer and his tiger flying backward. Su Heng exhaled sharply. He had gambled his life on that flashy skill name, and miraculously, the heavens favored him today. His head was still attached to his neck. Damn that old Master Johi for hiding this crucial secret. That eccentric teacher almost sent him to an early grave. But here it was. The terrifying might that only a peak mature stage divine beast possessed. Flawlessly sealed for a tamer's use. A legendary artifact that caused absolute chaos in the intermediate black markets. The masked assassin gnashed his teeth in raging jealousy. He had hunted for years but never claimed such power. "Who in the world are you?" he demanded. But Su Heng had no time to stroke his ego. Surviving was the only priority. His dragon snake lizard was still frozen in shock. "Move your scales, you foolish reptile." The masked killer's bloodlust exploded. He vowed to leave absolutely no witnesses alive. A summoning circle illuminated the earth. The white spring lion descended with an earth-shattering roar. Su Heng cursed the heavens in pure frustration. This coward was hiding a whole army of spirit beasts. This level of numerical bullying was completely shameless. Just you wait. I am reporting this to Master Zhou. The masked killer threw his head back and cackled. Crushing weaker cultivators was his absolute favorite game. Cry all you want. Today, your fate is sealed, and you will die by my hands. The dragon snake lizard held its ground. Su Heng planted his feet, refusing to retreat. He summoned the Azure wind leopard. The masked killer's jaw dropped in horror. That was the signature scouting beast, belonging to the legendary Lin Zhen. Su Heng's brilliant feint had worked flawlessly. He had stalled just long enough for his reinforcements to arrive. His senior brother descended upon his black leopard, instantly cutting off the enemy's escape route. The masked assassin choked on his own fury. Lin Zhen didn't just step onto the battlefield. His eyes glowed with absolute murderous intent. To a powerhouse like him, this masked thug was nothing but filthy trash. From the wretched Sinfire faction, Su Heng had read the ancient scrolls about them. Their true name was the Sinfire Condensation Palace, an ancient, massive sect bathed in dark, forbidden arts. They were the mortal enemies of the Black Lamp Castle. Unlike the rulers of the Ghost Bear Forest, their leaders shared a blood-deep bond with mutant beast territories, and their terrifying familiars were predominantly savage wolf-type demons. The masked assassin seethed with humiliation, but desperately tried to save face. Your arrogance touches the heavens, but your strength is a joke. He forced a maniacal laugh, as if he were watching a mere mortal challenge the gods. With a vicious wave, he commanded all three of his beasts to attack simultaneously. A shameless ambush. But Lin Zhen remained as calm as a placid lake. He casually summoned his native rock steel mammoth and the moon shadow leopard. The true clash of titans was about to begin. Out of the corner of his eye, Lin Zhen saw the heavy armor wolf leaping for his throat. He didn't even flinch. Su Heng screamed a warning, his heart dropping to his stomach. But the senior brother had calculated every single move. A blazing trap had already been set. The fiery poison. Macaque materialized from thin air. It smashed its flaming fist directly into the black wolf's jaw. The masked assassin's eyes practically bulged out of his skull. Su Heng was equally blown away. Where did this blazing beast even come from? The truth hit him like a lightning bolt. Lin Zhen had summoned the thermoelectric macaque simultaneously with the mammoth. It had perfectly masked its presence using magic-type spiritual energy. A brilliant trap waiting to spring. This was the absolute dominance of a 5-element beast tamer. The heavy armor wolf's midnight fur was reduced to smoking cinders. It snarled, glaring at the flaming monkey with absolute murderous rage. Cold sweat dripped down the masked assassin's face. He never imagined Lin Zhen possessed such a mythic tier familiar. He silently cursed his opponent's flawless deception. Even in the darkest underground networks, no one had whispered about Black Lamp Castle owning such rare beasts. But the deadliest secrets always deliver the ultimate shock. Yet the masked villain stubbornly refused to bow his head. His pride as an elite cultivator would not let him surrender to a peer. His beast was a top-tier special species mutation. There was no way it would fall to a mere thermoelectric macaque. With a blood-curdling roar, he triggered the heavy armor wolf's black line strike. Its agility instantly broke the sound barrier. But the thermoelectric macaque danced through the razor-sharp claws like a phantom. The legendary Fire Macaque Fist was unleashed once more. A left hook, an uppercut. The battlefield erupted in an even clash of blinding blows. A final, devastating straight punch completely shattered the heavy armor wolf, leaving it totally battered and torn. Su Heng watched in absolute awe, gasping at his senior brother's tyrannical power. But the masked killer stubbornly refused to accept this humiliating defeat. Yes, this raw strength was monstrously terrifying. But he still had a trump card hidden up his sleeve. He unleashed his ultimate art. Heavy Armor Wolf, Supreme Armor Restoration. But basic plating was completely useless here. Lin Zhen simply raised a finger. He casually ordered the fiery poison macaque to activate Thermokinetic Fist. Astral Flame, a gigantic fist forged from roaring hellfire, obliterated the armor like fragile glass. The masked assassin spammed his dark line strike in sheer panic. Lin Zhen countered with the super thermokinetic strike. It was an earth-shattering collision. Neither side pulled their punches. Light and shadow twisted together in a deadly explosive dance. The massive shockwave cracked the very foundation of the earth. The fiery poison macaque, armed with its level 6, awakened might, mercilessly pummeled the heavy armor wolf into the dirt. The masked assassin was completely cornered. In a desperate gambit, he summoned a brand new familiar, the Crimson Scale Evolution form. He initially thought adding one more divine beast would instantly crush Lin Zhen. But his real scheme was far more cowardly. He was simply stalling until his pack of reinforcements arrived. He wanted to drown our main character's squad in an ocean of enemies. He frantically screamed into his communication crystal, begging his brothers to join the bloodbath. But Su Heng's side wasn't born yesterday either. At home you rely on your clan, but outside you trust your comrades. Lin Zhen smiled coldly. Let the real war begin. Why wait for reinforcements when you have a supreme powerhouse like Chairman Shu Ke on the way? But time is ticking. Who strikes first wins. Lin Zhen has a trump card up his sleeve. He asks Su Hong if he dares to take a massive gamble. The masked guy loses his patience. He unleashes his fire scale beast to surround them. A blazing barrier of venom erupts. The fire poison beast buys them exactly 4 seconds. It launches a scorching, venomous fist. This is immediately followed by an explosive, superheated strike. The fire scale is forced onto the defensive. The masked guy screams an order, commanding it to use its heavy bow skill and burrow underground to dodge. Smart move, but arrogance breeds stupidity. Just as the fire scale attempts to spew smoke and escape into the earth, the little Azure dragon makes its grand entrance. The masked guy is still smirking, completely unaware that his summoned beast has been outplayed. Su Heng's group has completely surrounded them. Seizing the perfect opening, the little Azure dragon unleashes a devastating combo. An evil intent bullet paired with a rapid-fire earth spear barrage shoots straight for the masked guy's face. Death stares the masked guy right in the eyes. But fate hasn't abandoned this villain just yet. Boom! A massive shadow-cloaked figure intercepts the deadly blow. It is the war-legged black ape, a terrifying beast at the mature stage of the dangerous rank. Empowered by this stroke of luck, the masked guy's arrogance skyrockets. He schemes to slaughter Lin Zhen and retreat before Shu Ke can even arrive, because his own backup has just stepped onto the battlefield. The newcomer is Luo Yu. He is riding atop a vicious scorpion-tailed demon beast, another monstrous entity at the mature stage. Swish, swish, swish. 3 deadly stingers shoot through the air like guided arrows. The little Azure dragon reacts a split second too late, taking a brutal hit to its tail. It lets out a cry of pain, while the black ape roars in triumph. Raising fists as massive as boulders, the ape aims to smash the little Azure dragon into bloody paste. Brother, watch out! Lin Zhen screams at the top of his lungs. He commands his fire poison beast to act as a living shield. It steps forward to absorb the devastating impact for them. But before Lin Zhen's beast can even catch its breath, the black ape launches another ruthless assault. It activates its racial combat skill. Raising a colossal foot, it aims to crush the poison beast into the dirt. Bam! Out of nowhere, the Crimson Flame Tiger intercepts the strike. Hope ignites in Su Heng's eyes as he sees Hiju and Shuiyu arrive. The cavalry is finally here. We have been waiting for you bastards all afternoon. Shuiyu sneers, instantly unleashing a torrent of trash talk against the thieving bandits. Bullying the weak? You are courting death. Shuiyu was supposed to be stationed at Willowtown, but hearing his junior brother Su Heng was in mortal danger, he abandoned his post and rushed through the shadows to bring salvation. If I was not here, you dog-faced scum would be having a field day, wouldn't you? He laughs darkly. Realizing the threat, Luo Yu decides to drop his ultimate trump card early. He originally planned to save it to assassinate Chairman Shu Ke, but now he decides to slaughter all 4 disciples and bury them together, killing 4 of Mr. Shu's precious disciples at once. Oh, his heart will bleed. Luo Yu mocks with a sinister grin. The secret weapon he summons is none other than the golden-backed king ape. It is a mutated evolution of the black ape, an absolute monstrosity at the completely matured, super-dangerous rank. Despair washes over Hiju's face. Against a beast of this realm, their entire group is doomed to perish. The golden-backed ape charges directly at the fire poison beast, its eyes burning with profound hatred. But then, boom! An incomprehensible force erupts from the void, blasting the monstrous ape backwards. Luo Yu's jaw drops in pure terror. Realizing a true supreme powerhouse has descended, the villainous group scrambles to run for their lives. Su Heng's eyes widen as the combat data floods his system. Standing tall like an ancient mountain is Chairman Shu Ke's main contracted beast, the Nightshade Phantom Dragon. the absolute tyrant of the battlefield. With an overwhelming display of dominance, it obliterates the golden-backed king ape in just 2 casual strikes. Su Hang's jaw hits the floor. Is this the true, terrifying might of a super-dangerous rank beast? No wonder those bandits fled like rats. A blinding halo of spiritual light flares. Another devastating attack is unleashed. Luo Yu desperately rolls out of the way to save his pathetic life. But the masked guy isn't so lucky. He takes a direct hit from the legendary White Tiger and is instantly encased in solid ice. The masked guy soils himself in absolute freezing terror. Chairman Shuki floats majestically above. His eyes are filled with absolute disdain as the surviving enemies desperately flee. Every single beast in Chairman Shuki's arsenal is a top-tier legendary phantom. A VIP lineup so incredibly overpowered that ordinary tamers could only dream of it. He sneers, never expecting such insignificant trash to sneak into his domain while he was away. But just as he turns to thank Su Hang's group, tragedy strikes. Lin Zhen's loyal earth python lies motionless on the ground, brutally severed in half. Who dares commit such an atrocity? Shu Kei's voice thunders with the fury of a waking dragon. Su Hang quickly reports the truth. It was those thieving scumbags. Their earth dragon ambushed senior brother's beast. Hearing this, Chairman Shu Kei's aura turns pitch black. He commands He-Ju to escort the disciples safely back to the encampment. I alone will deal with these rebellious rats, he declares, mounting his beast and tearing through the sky. Deep within the ominous, shadow-filled forest, the surviving bandits pant heavily. 3 of their strongest members haven't returned, undoubtedly sent to the afterlife by the monstrous Shu Kei. They curse their intelligence division for a massive blunder. How did they miss his true power level? But anger won't save their lives now. Their assassination mission is a total failure. They must retreat and report this absolute disaster back to the Syndicate. They finally understand that the Blackwater Syndicate is not a force you can lightly provoke. While the others panic, Luo Yu remains chillingly silent. Whatever happens, happens. He simply does not care anymore. But then, the earth violently trembles. Flocks of birds scatter into the blood-red sky in absolute panic. A colossal beast casts a massive shadow over the entire forest. Standing heroically upon its back is Shu Kei. The Supreme Hunter has arrived to exterminate the rebellious rats. The bandits scramble like headless chickens, but their doom is sealed. Let's fast forward to the aftermath. Back at the Blackwater Syndicate encampment, the result of the hunt is absolute carnage. Every single contracted beast belonging to the thieves was slaughtered. Chairman Shu Kei effortlessly soloed the 4 strongest elites. Only a few insignificant lackeys managed to slip through the cracks. He-Ju nods in absolute reverence at the chairman's overwhelming might. Being the meticulous powerhouse he is, Shu Kei orders a full sweep of the territory. The overall structural damage is minimal. Less than 10% of their precious bear strength fruits were stolen. However, the casualties among the Ironhide Bears number in the hundreds. It is a devastating, bloody blow to the Sacred Bear clan. The alpha of the Ironhide Bears is going to erupt into a primal frenzy once he finds out. But this bloody vengeance is not a quest for Su Hang's group to undertake. The beast clans will settle their own debts in blood. Chairman Shuka then shifts his gaze to the grieving Lin Zhen. Knowing the boy's sacrifice, the chairman makes a heavenly vow. He will personally compensate Lin Zhen with an exceptionally rare, dangerous rank insect larva. He-Ju and Shui Yu's timely rescue will also be handsomely rewarded. Merit where merit is due. However, Shui Yu's reckless abandonment of his official post cannot be ignored. Even in his older age, Chairman Shu Kei's mind is as sharp as a legendary blade. Smack! He throws a thick stack of disciplinary reports right into Shui Yu's face, his booming voice echoing through the hall. Breaking sect laws brings severe punishment. Get your rear end back to Willowtown, right this second. Shu Kei roars, kicking the rebellious disciple out. With Shui Yu gone, the chairman turns his attention back to Su Hang. The terrifying aura vanishes entirely. It is replaced by the warm, approving gaze of a master. The greatest martial merit of this battle belongs to you, Shu Kei declares. As a reward, he grants Su Hang access to the sect's sacred vault to pick any 2 legendary treasures. But Su Hang immediately waves his hands in refusal. If senior brother Lin Zhen hadn't risked everything to save me, I would be dead. Su Hang bows deeply. Please, transfer my martial merit to him. Hearing this display of pure brotherhood, Chairman Shu Kei throws his head back and erupts into joyous laughter. Seeing his junior disciples value loyalty over divine treasures, warms his old, battle-scarred heart. Both of them will be heavily blessed. Such noble brotherhood is the true foundation of our sect. Shuke smiles warmly. Fear not, young dragon. Both of you have earned supreme rewards today. There is no need to sacrifice your own blessings for your brother's sake. Elder Shu wanted to lead him to the treasure vault immediately, but Su Heng had a crucial matter to attend to. He politely declined the offer. After all, the vault could wait until tomorrow. The night grew deep and quiet. Su Heng sat by his desk, turning the ancient pages of the old Sun Dragon tome. He had bought himself precious time to study. He needed absolute certainty before choosing his rewards. One wrong choice could waste a heavenly blessing. A spiritual pet's evolutionary path was a brutal climb. Reaching the apex of the martial tower required perfection. The legendary dragon transformation was fraught with mortal peril. It demanded the support of peerless celestial materials. If his treasure-hunting beast could awaken a dragon bloodline, its utility would reach unfathomable heights. His chances of gathering supreme evolutionary materials would multiply. However, the treasure beast possessed multiple evolutionary branches, but there were exactly 9 profound paths to true dragonhood. Su Heng pondered the mysteries of heaven and earth. To preserve its divine treasure-seeking instincts, little Maru had to undergo dragon transformation, while maintaining the mystic element as its core foundation. Closing the ancient tome, he rose from his cultivation mat. He would conquer the treasure vault at dawn. Anticipation fueled his spirit through the night. But when morning arrived, destiny played a cruel joke. Access to the vault was suddenly denied. Heiju, who was bathing his crimson flame tiger, delivered the crushing blow of reality. Elder Shu's supreme schedule had abruptly changed. The elder had departed the camp under the cover of darkness to hunt the notorious Firequake bandit syndicate. Su Heng cursed his own stubbornness from last night. Now, he could only await the elder's triumphant return. But a genius never stays idle. A cunning scheme sparked in his mind. He turned to his little cyan dragon with a sly grin. They were going to pull off a monumental heist. Their spiritual connection synchronized perfectly. Master and beast dashed out like lightning shadows. Heiju could only shake his head in utter disbelief. Su Heng was more chaotic than a primordial demon. The target was the armor bear forest. Those formidable beasts lacked a proper beast tamer. Their territory had suffered catastrophic losses recently. Thanks to his midnight study of the ancient texts, he discovered a hidden sanctuary perfectly suited for them. By the grace of heaven, little Maru sniffed out an incredibly docile armor bear. Su Heng plotted to harvest the bear strength fruits, without spilling a single drop of blood. Guided by Su Heng's supreme intellect, and leveraging his 2 divine beasts, he applied the secret arts of the old Sun Dragon tome. He brewed spiritual medicine and healed the giant beast, giving a little to gain the world. His harvest was absolutely legendary. Alongside 3 bear strength fruits, he secured several ultra-rare avian eggs. The little cyan dragon devoured the eggs in one gulp. However, the heavens demand balance. Blinded by gluttony, the massive bear suddenly turned hostile. It challenged the young dragon for the heavenly resources. To our protagonist, stealing food was an unforgivable sin, and his dragon valued its meals above life itself. The beast had stepped on a supreme dragon's reverse scale. Battle aura erupted in an instant. Retreat was never an option for a dragon tamer. The bear unleashed its devastating tear claw technique. It closed the distance with terrifying martial prowess. The young dragon's tail was still recovering from past battles. It suffered a heavy, dizzying blow to the skull. The armored bear mercilessly pinned the dragon under its massive claws. Su Heng felt his soul leave his body. He commanded his pet to yield, but the dragon's pride refused. A miraculous transformation sparked within the desperate struggle. Facing the overwhelming pressure of the giant bear, the dragon did not cower. Instead, it awakened the supreme dragon majesty. Su Heng's eyes blazed with absolute euphoria. It was the legendary Dragon Roar Warhammer. A single, earth-shattering roar sent the mighty bear fleeing in terror. "Magnificent work, my partner!" Su Heng cheered. The dragon had unlocked a transcendent Tier 4 ability. He reached out to stroke its triumphant scales. The young dragon closed its eyes, bathing in the glory of victory. It had conquered through its innate draconic dominance. But before Su Heng could finish his praise, the dragon's scales began to crack and peel away. "What is happening to you?" he gasped in shock. The little cyan dragon was breaking through its mortal shell. Its wounded tail regenerated with blinding spiritual light. It had violently ascended to the late growth stage. Su Heng stood paralyzed by awe. His relentless investment of heavenly resources was paying off. The perfect stage was finally within his grasp. Meanwhile, Elder Shu had returned triumphant from his hunt. Word of the dragon's miraculous breakthrough reached his ears instantly. Desperate to witness this cultivation miracle, he rushed to the special training arena. Lin Zhen was undergoing intense martial refinement there. Elder Shu stormed in, demanding to see the boy immediately. The fierce training halted at the elder's booming voice. Lin Zhen hurriedly offered a respectful martial salute. The elder had sprinted here solely to verify the legendary rumors. Stepping forward as Su Heng's guarantor, Lin Zhen spoke. He solemnly confirmed the heavenly truth. The beast's growth speed defied the laws of heaven. It completely shattered the expectations of both grandmasters. Su Heng had flawlessly completed an impossible trial. Elder Shu showered the young tamer with endless praise. Truly worthy of being Master Zhou's direct disciple. An overwhelming aura of a supreme conqueror radiated from the boy. He was the pride of the Black Iron Fort. The elder immediately commanded Lin Zhen to prepare the boy's triumphant return tomorrow morning. But first, the legendary treasure vault awaited them right now. Despite his exhausting battle with the bandits, the elder refused to rest his weary bones. Destiny waits for no one. He had to bestow celestial rewards upon Su Heng this very second. The original promise of 2 artifacts was altered. He added a 3rd supreme treasure to compensate for the delay. They descended into the depths of the stronghold's vault. Strangely, it resembled an ancient primordial cave. Calling this a mere warehouse was an insult to heaven. Su Heng was granted absolute freedom to choose. His dragon eyes gleamed with raw ambition. Divine artifacts radiated blinding golden energy all around him. Upon receiving the elder's nod of approval, he respectfully bowed before rocketing into the depths. The cave was overflowing with priceless celestial materials. Mountains of gold could never buy these sacred items. Entering this sacred domain felt like a fleeting dream. Surrounded by a boundless ocean of rare resources, he was restricted to grasping only 3 absolute treasures. Little Maru stared at the loot, practically drowning in its own greedy drool. Choosing 3 items from this paradise was agonizing. During his midnight cultivation session, Su Heng had sworn an oath to his treasure beast. If the vault held the required ancient ingredients, he would evolve it into a treasure-hunting dragon. The little beast saluted with fiery determination. Their destiny rested entirely in its mystical paws, but the foolish creature suddenly leaped forward, grabbing the twin water orbs of a celestial statue. Su Heng's face darkened with utter embarrassment. Stop your degenerate acts before I shatter your core. Focus on the mission, or you are dragon food. Terrified, the creature scurried away to sense the spiritual veins. Soon enough, its divine instincts locked onto the targets. It unearthed the withered, illusory demon flower, and a mound of resplendent diamond soil. Su Heng locked in his final, unwavering choice. This soil was the absolute key to upgrading his spiritual plantation. As the heavy stone doors sealed shut, Elder Shu respected the boy's bizarre selection. He assumed the cunning youth had some hidden agenda. In truth, these were the vital lifelines for little Maru's evolution. Su Heng would rather die than trade them away. Meanwhile, at the bustling Willow Nail Town, the elite guard legion carefully loaded his spiritual cargo. They handled every crate as if it were spun glass, terrified of incurring the young master's wrath. Lin Zhen's brow was heavy with dark worry. He feared a ruthless ambush from the Firequake Syndicate. Suddenly, Shui Wu swaggered over and slung an arm around Su Heng. With your senior brother here, who would dare touch a single hair on your head? He proudly declared that Willow Nailtown was his absolute territory. He swore on his martial honor to escort the boy safely. Su Heng was the sect's most precious junior. After all, despite the lingering shadows of doubt in his heart, Lin Zhen officially entrusted the escort mission to Shui Wu. They exchanged firm martial salutes before parting ways. A blood-pumping journey back to Black Iron Fort was about to begin. Lin rushed to visit his martial siblings as quickly as possible. Seeing the 2 of them holding hands with endless affection, Shui Yu scoffed, crossing her arms with a haughty glare. Look at that romance, she mocked. Then she ordered the guards to do one last security check before rolling out. Their destination? The Black Lantern Keep. Just as Lin had predicted, the surviving scum from the Sinfire faction had plotted their bloody revenge. Only 3 of them remained. They had just received scout intel. Today, an elite escort detail from Willowtown was transporting a VIP straight to the Black Lantern Keep, and that VIP was none other than Su Heng. He was their ultimate target. The villain, La Yu, smirked with wicked satisfaction, hearing that Lin Chen had already left the area. He unrolled the tactical map. The protagonist convoy was destined to pass right through their ambush zone. They planned a lethal sneak attack in this very valley. After finalizing the plot, Liu hid in the thick foliage, high up in the ancient branches, spying through his binoculars. He had formed this elite hunting squad for one sole purpose: to make Su Heng taste the absolute terror of death. Blood must be paid in blood, to avenge his fallen comrades. But the moment that thought crossed his mind, boom! A massive inferno erupted right behind him. He snapped his head back, only to see Lin Chen standing below, accompanied by his blazing poison fire beast. Lin Chen coldly declared his judgment. La Yu's 2 accomplices had already been eradicated by Shu Ke. As for La Yu, Lin Chen would execute him personally. Seeing the villain's utter disbelief, Lin Chen mocked him. Did you really think Su Heng's convoy blindly stopped in front of your trap? In La Yu's eyes, this counter-ambush was incredibly despicable. He never expected Lin Chen's faction to strike first. What kind of twisted double standard was this? If we are talking about being despicable, the Sinfire scum were second to none. No one dared to claim first place. Shu Ke, riding atop his majestic white horse, finally spoke up. To ensure Su Heng's absolute safety, he had orchestrated this entire scheme to lure the Sinfire prey right into their own trap. Wasting no more breath, Lin Chen unleashed his overwhelming aura. Old grudges and new debts would be settled in one devastating strike. Meanwhile, sitting comfortably inside his carriage, Su Heng witnessed a massive explosion, lighting up the road ahead. That destructive impact was definitely the work of an apex-tier beast. Lin Chen had warned him earlier to delay his departure by half a minute. So this was the master plan. Lin Chen and Shu Ke had wiped out the bandit scum in one clean sweep. Su Heng quickly stepped out of the carriage and bowed deeply in gratitude to his seniors. He swore to be the perfect host when Shu Ke visited the Black Lantern. Keep! Urged by the guards, he climbed back into his ride and resumed his journey. 2 days later, they finally arrived at their destination. The very first person Su Heng sought out was his master, Zhou He. He had endured countless hardships on this brutal path. The old master was eager to witness the fruits of Su Heng's perilous journey. Facing his mentor's high expectations, Su Heng confidently swore he would never disappoint him. With a flash of divine light, he summoned the Azure Dragon. It was time to show off his legendary beast. Master Zhou, he approached with blazing eyes, hilariously pinning the draconic lizard to the floor and prying its massive jaws open. He was giving the terrifying creature a dental checkup. You don't brush after eating, do you? Your breath reeks and you have cavities. Su Heng was rendered absolutely speechless. The Azure Dragon better stay perfectly still. If it annoyed the old master, he might just rip its jaws wide open. On a serious note, Zhou he had also dispatched elite forces to eradicate the Sinfire faction, hunting them across every shadow. Yet, Su Heng's senior brothers had already wiped them out without leaving a single trace. How incredibly badass. The Lord of the Grisly Forest had secretly returned, ensuring the Sinfire remnants would never dare to approach that territory again, unless they had the divine power to conquer the entire world. Master Zhou Heng he looked immensely proud of everything Su Heng had achieved. Not only did he perfectly complete his brutal special training, but he also achieved a massive merit by capturing the wanted criminals. He truly deserved a heaven-defying reward. Su Heng slyly asked if his master could bless him with another ancient dragon scale. But Zhou He chuckled, declaring that Su Heng could demand something far more valuable than that. That was exactly what Su Heng was waiting for. He instantly requested a grand reward for his senior, Lin Chen. He recounted the bloody battle in the Grisly Forest. If his senior had not sacrificed his main spirit beast, Su Heng would never have had the chance to return alive. Master Zhou He nodded approvingly. He promised that after the new year, he would gift Lin Chen a cyan-faced super tiger cub, a perfect compensation for saving his junior brother's life. This was an unparalleled, apex-tier dangerous species. Senior Lin Chen had truly found a blessing within disaster. Master Zhou. He then tossed Su Heng the keys to a luxurious inner fortress villa. He told him to visit his sister, Su Ling, quickly. Afterward, he must move into the villa to optimize his cultivation time. He could not afford to miss the upcoming continental tournament. Su Heng, overflowing with absolute gratitude, bowed deeply to Master Zhou He, swearing to uphold the master's honor. As Su Heng turned to leave, Zhou He sighed, gazing at his excessively humble disciple. Being this humble is a fatal flaw. In this cruel world of beast tamers, Absolute power is the only law. Yielding 9 times brings nothing but humiliation. The master granted him permission to pick 2 more treasures from the Black Lantern treasury. Remember, only the survivors have the right to be humble. Those words struck Su Heng like a thunderbolt. Awakened by his master's martial philosophy, he respectfully bowed one last time and departed. His profound words echoed in his soul. Having survived countless life-or-death trials, he finally understood. He could choose to be a man of reason, but to make people listen, he must crush them into total submission with his overwhelming strength. After flying through the skies all afternoon, he finally arrived home. From afar, he could hear the voice of Su Ling casually roasting her precious little brother. Su Heng slowly approached. But the moment he announced his return, a human missile launched right at him. He lost his balance and crashed hard onto his rear. Hearing the news of his violent ambush, she had been paralyzed with terror. But seeing Su Heng return completely unscathed, an overwhelming wave of relief washed over her. She finally calmed down. But wait, there were 2 unfamiliar guests in the house. They were Su Ling's plantation colleagues, high-ranking managers of resource allocation from the Logistics Bureau. The girl with the short pink hair was Lin Mengyuan, while the blonde beauty was Chi Meili. Looking absolutely gorgeous and radiant, they were clearly top-tier friends. But suddenly, Su Heng's danger instincts flared. He instantly saw through the plot. Spot on. It was a total trap. His sister was setting him up on a blind date. Since their parents passed away early, she was desperate for him to bring glory to the Su bloodline. She wanted him to start a family immediately, so their ancestors could rest in peace. Su Ling had meticulously selected these 2 prime candidates. Beautiful figures, perfectly suited for supporting a husband and raising future prodigies. Besides, as an elite beast tamer, his life was destined for endless wandering. He needed an independent, capable wife to manage the household and keep the peace. But Su Heng had not even considered romance. Women were merely fleeting clouds on the path to immortality. Feigning exhaustion, he tried to retreat to his room, but Su Ling instantly saw right through his cowardly escape attempt. She would never let him off the hook that easily. Every tactical retreat he planned ended in miserable failure. Forced into the awkward dinner, Su Heng sat frozen until he summoned his treasure-hunting beast, Little Maju. That adorable creature successfully diverted the 3 girls' attention. However, the poor little Maju was nearly petted bald under their relentless affection. As midnight approached, Su Ling officially issued her ultimate quest. Escort the 2 ladies home safely. Mei Li smiled sweetly, telling him there was no need to be so formal. They lived just around the corner and could easily walk back together. Following Mei Li's delicate pointing finger, their house was just down that path. Mengyuan playfully chimed in, teasing the mighty tamer for being so incredibly shy. Well, what could he do? Su Heng had spent his entire life mastering beasts, completely oblivious to the sweet scent of romance. He wanted to share a meal, but was terrified of being eaten alive by these beauties. Flushed red, he remained speechless, suddenly sensing a terrifying new danger. A monstrous shadow lunged forward. A vicious beast blocked their path. It was a demonic rat spirit at the Earth Condensation realm. To think a mature beast of this terrifying caliber would actually dare to show its face. This was the infamous brutal blood rat. Its massive, grotesque body suggested it had been feasting on the corpses of fallen spirit beasts deep underground. These monstrous rodents always moved in deadly packs. Su Heng immediately warned the 2 women to stay on absolute guard. But before his words even faded, 3 more demonic rats launched a bloodthirsty ambush. Only then did he notice the bait. Mai Lei was holding a basket of spirit-infused chicken feet. That was the absolute favorite delicacy of the brutal blood rat. No wonder this horrific swarm had gathered. But Su Heng did not panic. He instantly initiated his summoning circle. The dragon snake lizard, his mighty little Azure dragon, burst forth. The sheer draconic aura instantly made the bloodthirsty rat swarm tremble in absolute terror. Dinner time. Let the slaughter begin. However, feeling the overwhelming pressure, the rat spirits actually backed away and prepared to flee. What insane speed! But did they really think they could escape the crushing claws of our little Azure dragon? Impossible! Su Heng unleashed the dragon's explosive ultimate attack, Dragon Aura Earth Piercer. Instantly, a devastating array of jagged stone spikes erupted from the earth. The spikes mercilessly impaled every single brutal blood rat. One by one, our overpowered main character sent these vile creatures straight to the underworld. Just 2 months ago, Defending against them would have been a bitter struggle. But now, the little Azure dragon had awakened, and its power was absolutely terrifying. Slaughtering mature, low-level demonic beasts was now as effortless as crushing dry leaves. The city guard squad finally arrived at the scene, only to freeze in shock at the sight of the slaughtered rat corpses. All 4 beasts had been eradicated before they could even squeak. As expected, when our main character makes a move, enemies are reduced to absolute dust. Su-hang noted that during this season, the food supply for brutal blood rats was extremely scarce, making their rampages far more destructive. He ordered the guards to report to the security bureau immediately. They needed the bloodtail poison to exterminate the nests. If they delayed, the city would face catastrophic consequences. He casually instructed the guards to transport the monster corpses to the Internal Affairs Division at the inner stronghold. "Just tell them it belongs to Su-hang of Villa 73, he commanded. Let us do a quick lore recap. Thanks to a monumental achievement, Su-hang had been gifted a luxurious mansion by Lord Jo-hei. These elite estates were located right next to the Black Pearl stronghold, which was basically the ultimate VIP zone for top-tier beast tamers. Villa 73 was actually the private, high-security residence of the Lord himself. Naturally, claiming such a prestigious territory made Su-hang the target of intense jealousy and venomous glares from the entire cultivation community. The biggest thorn in his side was a guy named Lu Lang, who lived right across the street. But the moment this arrogant rival laid eyes on Su-hang's gorgeous older sister, his whole attitude flipped. Suddenly, he was acting like Su-hang's best friend, throwing an arm over his shoulder with obvious hidden motives. This shameless, to conquer the heavens, one must master the foundation. Our main character proved himself a true hero. Gathering the corpses of the demonic rats, this beastmaster faced a massive problem. His dragon snake lizard possessed a bottomless, rapidly expanding stomach. Feeding this legendary beast was draining his Black Pearl fortune. Due to strict guild resource laws, he simply could not sell his raw loot on the open market. But fate works in mysterious ways. The demonic rats triggered a hidden memory from the ancient Sun Dragon tome. The secret lay in blood. Fate incense. Think of it as a mystical elixir. It faked a bloodline resonance between master and beast, forging an artificial, short-term soul contract that defied natural law. Even a mortal who had not awakened as a true beastmaster could easily use it. This meant blood fate incense would become the ultimate black market gold mine. Relying on the ancient formula from the Sun Dragon tome, our hero transformed into a master alchemist. A pinch of rare herbs here, a drop of essence there. The cauldron boiled, producing a glowing crimson elixir. This was his ultimate cash cow, incredibly cheap to produce. But would this heaven-defying formula actually work? Time for a test subject. He summoned his little treasure-hunting demon. Under the burning spell of the blood fate incense, man and beast were violently sucked into a psychic illusion. Suddenly, our main character took on the aura of a majestic beast father. He appeared as a supreme, fully grown treasure beast. Every single day, he led the little demon to conquer mountains of legendary loot. The little beast wept tears of pure joy. Then, our hero snapped. Back to reality. Nursing a massive headache, the little demon was still blissfully dizzy from the dream. He made a vow. Tomorrow, he would raid the vault for the ultimate evolution catalysts. The Soul Link was a terrifying success. The little beast now worshipped him as its true creator. As dawn broke, our hero arrived at the Grand Material Vault. The estate butler beamed, with overwhelming joy at his arrival. Our hero had been so caught up in relocating his cultivation base, he had completely forgotten the meeting. The elder and the young master stepped toward the massive inner sanctuary. Suddenly, terrifying tentacles erupted from the ancient gate, wrapping tightly around the butler's wrist. It was a peak-level parasitic guardian beast of the highest danger tier. Its innate divine skill? Absolute domain. Without the Supreme Lord's direct authorization, any intruder trying to force these doors open would be devoured alive down to the very bone. This divine treasury made the previous vault look like a peasant's shed. The heavy ancient doors groaned open. The elder gestured for our hero to step forward and claim his destiny. He chuckled, noting our hero was the first in history to be granted 3 divine treasures at once. He warned him to cultivate diligently and never fail the Supreme Lord's vision. Our hero nodded heavily. His respect for the Supreme Lord and the elder burned bright. Crossing the threshold, he was instantly struck by the sheer, overwhelming scale of this new treasury. It was an infinite, meticulously organized library of power. Floating crystal displays radiated immense spiritual pressure, bathing him in holy light. He clearly understood the old man's unspoken warning. Do not let greed cloud your Tao. Take only what you need, and leave providence for the rest. Besides, floating menacingly right above his head, was a massive, all-seeing divine eye. Its surveillance gaze could probably pierce straight through his soul. No chance for sticky fingers here. He immediately commanded his little beast to scan the authorized perimeter. His current mission? Secure the dragon scales and 2 legendary dragon evolution catalysts. The little demon went to work, and within mere moments, jackpot! Supreme-grade dragon scales and 10 spiritual essences secured. But wait, the anti-gravity void stone was completely missing. He scoured every inch of the massive vault, but the legendary catalyst was nowhere to be found. The grand treasure hunt finally reached its climax. Our main character confidently hauled his loot to the main hall for the chief steward's appraisal. The elder's jaw dropped, demanding to know why our guy had violently ripped out a massive chunk of the pavilion's ceiling. Su Hang casually played dumb, joking that his own roof was missing a tile. But you simply cannot hide a true dragon's aura from a veteran master. The elder saw right through his epic bluff, tossing the looted slab right back into the storage crate. The old man was absolutely mind-blown by his terrifyingly sharp eyes. But the true legendary carry was his divine treasure-seeking beast. Its supreme senses easily pierced through the barrier to detect the hidden void secret stone. Truly a god-tier little companion. Hey, that is my precious boy. Triumphant, Su Hang returned to his cultivation chamber. The ultimate materials needed for the dragon ascension ritual were finally secured. He flipped through the ancient texts, completely dumbfounded by how miraculously simple the legendary process actually was. He expected a heaven-defying trial similar to the ancient serpent evolution. But plot twist, he literally just had to feed the supreme materials to his pet. Chuckling at his insane luck, Su Hang scooped up little Maru and confidently stepped up to the crafting altar. It is time to awaken your ancient bloodline, little one. Devour every single one of these supreme heaven-defying artifacts. And with that epic cliffhanger, part 1 of our legendary journey comes to a close. If your blood is boiling for more, do not forget to like and subscribe. Share this glorious path with your fellow cultivators to support our mighty storytelling sect. Thank you all for witnessing this absolute peak fiction.